ball is dead.
Rest in peace.
Dallas, love the jersey today. Love the jersey today. It's whole.
It is wool. It is
Yeah.
100% wool.
I love that.
Yeah.
How's the shoulder recovery going?
Well, the wiping schedule has resumed its normalcy. I'm back to the left hand on the toilet, so that's a sign, or it's a positive sign anyway. But yeah,
right.
I'm getting there, slowly getting there. Nothing to a little aggressive, but yeah, we're bouncing back. I'm doing fine, doing good.
Are you doing physical therapy yet or no?
No. I was told that I'm not allowed to do physical therapy for about another month or so. They just need this thing to take. They need the anchors to heal. They need the tendon and the muscle to heal. Because you can kind of do stuff without the bracing of this sling, but that would probably lead to me doing more than I should, which would potentially compromise the repair. So in an effort to keep myself out of my own way, I just keep my fucking arm strapped to my side for another month. I basically got Punxsutawney filled when I went to the surgeon. He's like, oh, nope, 6 more weeks in this bad boy. And I was like, bro, why? And he was like, well, because everything looks good, but you will probably, knowing you will probably fuck that up if I take you out of this now. So I'm in this thing, but I've already got my appointments for the PRP injections, stem cell. So we're rolling right along, baby. Operation Baboon Ligament may have hit a hurdle with, getting the actual baboon ligament. But as far as being able to be pumped full of all of the hormones and the regenerative properties, buddy,
Are you willing to have a discussion on the record about potentially taking human growth hormone?
1,000%.
Why? Yeah, why not? How much is a kit? It's gotta be like $8,000.
Well, it depends on the cycling. So how long you're trying to stay on this? I mean, because there's. Look,
you gotta know guys. You gotta know guys who know guys. You played Major League Baseball in the early 2010s.
There's ways to administer this over a lifetime where, this is a lifestyle approach. When they talk about, hormone replacement therapy, it's not like you replace it once and then we're all done here. See you later. No, you have to maintain the gains, right? So there's ways like, look, with this new thing, with the Olympic Games, what are they called? Where they're just the juiced games or whatever it's called. You guys have seen this, right?
No, what are you talking about?
You haven't seen this? Are you guys serious?
Yeah.
They've got the Olympic. Oh my God, gentlemen, fucking brace yourselves. They are starting an Olympic Games where every single athlete is on every steroid you could come up with. Jared,
how is that legal? What country is this happening in? Steroids are illegal in the United States.
buddy. This is going to be sanctioned. There are already. Oh yeah, look into this.
How? This is like having the meth bowl. Like how are you going to have a steroid Olympics,
bro? A swimmer was like, I'm legit going to be juiced to the gills, ready to swim my fucking ass off through this pool. Like I'm setting records.
Where is this happening?
I'm not quite sure where it's going to happen, like where the games are going to take place.
It's on like Epstein's Island. Like where can you have this where it could actually be legally sanctioned? I don't understand.
I don't know. I mean, I don't see him going like games in New York where they're holding these meets on a barge in the middle of the river on international waters.
The Bermuda Triangle Steroid Olympics.
But it is legit. It's the Steroid Olympics. And but how long have we all, as sport fans, been clamoring for this? I know I have always said this. I said, you know what I want during the halftime show? I want full field 100-yard Oklahoma drills. I want a 360-pound dude who can run a 4.2 40. I want him lining up at the goal line. And then I want another guy down here who's like 210, 220, who can run like a 3.6. I want them running full speed at each other and just colliding. Like that's what the steroid games would do. Like you're literally going to watch this dude swimming. He's going to propel himself up out of the water and take like 3 strokes without even hitting water. He's going so fucking fast.
I mean, maybe I'm in the minority here. I don't care about steroided swimmers.
Yes, you do.
No,
yes,
I don't. No, I don't.
You're track stars. You're going to watch it all. You're going to see it all and be like, what?
I mean, we've already had that. Like, we've already had roided up track stars, and that didn't move the needle for me.
Well, it sure did. When you watched Ben Johnson, Ben Johnson's eyes were yellow.
I don't care.
Yellow. Care. Because he had so much testosterone running through his fucking body. Like,
all of those runners, male
and
female, were on steroids.
But dude, I'm talking now. It's street legal. This is what you're having when you wake up. It's like protein shake, injection, turkey sandwich, and we go to the track. Like, everybody's doing that. Everybody's on the same program. So now, like the high jump, it has to be outdoors, Jared. You're gonna have people hitting their fucking head on the rafters. It's gonna have to be outdoors. That's
how am I just hearing it?
Jay,
hey, did you hear about this?
Nope.
No. Joseph, did you hear about this?
I know, yeah.
I feel, this is right up your alley. All right, tell me what you know about this.
I don't know shit. I just heard they're doing it. They got investors. Peter Thiel invested. They got investors, man. It's going to be sweet. They better do better than the actual Olympics, or it's going to be embarrassing.
The swimmer, I forget his name. I hate to shortchange him. He's going to fucking make $1 million. He's going to make $1 million just to go and swim. Can you please go take steroids, and then we're going to throw you in the pool, and we'll give you $1 million to do it. Are you in?
Yeah, he better beat the record. That's embarrassing if he doesn't. But you got to assume a lot of the swimmers are already on the shit.
I believe, and don't quote me on this, I believe he has times that have clocked faster than the world record. But because it's performance enhancing induced, obviously it doesn't count. It's not acknowledged. It's not recognized.
He's just swimming on steroids by himself, not even competing.
Like, could you imagine fucking hanging out on vacation with this dude? You're like, hey, where's Eddie? He's just out in the fucking ocean doing fucking laughing dolphins. Like, bro, we got to come in. We got the fucking dance and we got the party, and this guy's out here fucking riding waves with the fucking porpoises.
I mean, what other events are they doing besides swimming?
I don't know, just like shot put. Jay, hey, I want to see somebody get up there and throw a fucking bowling ball 300 yards. I want to see that. Yeah, absolutely right.
Just because I hadn't heard of it prior to this conversation doesn't mean I'm not interested in it now. I'm just, max out.
Like the javelin? Could you look at the javelin? How far? You're watching some dude on the infield throw the fucking javelin into the third deck. Yes. I know it sounds outlandish, but I want to see all of it.
It all depends on what steroids they're taking, though. Because
who cares?
Well, I care because there's going to be.
Because you want to know.
No, because you have like these athletes that will take steroids for recovery and all that stuff. Like you'll have these like little pipsqueaks that are on steroids.
That's all part of it, though.
I want the Russian steroids. Like, I want them to be like what you're talking about. Like, I want them to be, doing shot put and throwing a fucking candlepin bowling ball 400 yards. But it's like not every steroid are created equal. Not every steroid is going to allow you to do that.
Well, no, and I'm sure like you're not going to find the endurance runners trying to bulk up with fucking Deca. It's not like they're like, yo.
Yeah, they're going to be like on T-ball. Like, let's just say if you're from the North Shore, you would understand this. Everett steroids are a little bit different than Saugus steroids. I'll tell you that. There's a football team over here in Massachusetts. They're in the Super Bowl every year. Every year they're in the Super Bowl and they win. It's like, all right, yeah, we get it. You guys are great.
Could you imagine watching like an Olympic marathon where you got dudes that look like The Rock running 26.2 miles? Like that's
how many
not
fucking
happening.
tendons are gonna explode during this thing?
But see, those dudes, like that's the thing is those dudes, they're VO2 max because you can absolutely enhance your VO2 max with steroids. Like these are going to be dudes like you talk about. You're not going to want to watch swimming, Jared. What if I told you these dudes were going to race underwater the length of the pool 5 times and never come up for air? Yeah. Just fucking breaststroking it underwater for 20 minutes. Like it's going to be ridiculous.
Speaking of strokes, I can already hear the ball talk people in the comment section. Where's the ball talk? I came here for ball talk, not steroid swimming talk. So we're going to get to that. I don't need you guys having a stroke over this discussion to open the show. But DraftKings Casino is bringing you only the best classics like blackjack, roulette, and slots, plus exclusive games you won't find anywhere else. Dallas, what's your favorite casino game?
I love the slots. What?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what slots. I like big slots. I like little slots.
Yeah, you look like a big slot
I'm
guy.
a huge slot guy. No, I love the craps table, baby. Love the crap. Never met a slot I didn't like. Love the craps table. I could fit into any slot. Huge craps table.
Yeah. Love that. I've seen you. I've seen you over there doing a little bit of that.
You see me working. I turn into a different animal on the craps table. Like, not that I'm, I kind of come out of my shell a little more on the craps table. I make friends. I'm everybody's friend at the craps table. You want me riding next to you. If you're shooting next to me, I'm your best friend. Like, your significant other is going to take a back seat while you and I make this money and make this magic.
Right, yeah. There's nothing like DB on the craps table, big time vibes guy. He's he's the glue of the craps table.
I won't go full Bert Kreischer and D blouse, but I will open the blouse. I will open the blouse for sure, and we'll get it going.
Got to do it. Download the DraftKings Casino app now. Use the promo code BID. New players get instant deposit match up to $100 in casino credits when you deposit $5 or more. That's promo code BID only on DraftKings Casino.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus, physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only, void in Ontario. Eligibility and other restrictions apply. One per new customer, must opt in and make minimum $5 deposit within 7 days, 168 hours of registering new account. Max match $100 in casino credits, which require one-time playthrough within 7 days, 168 hours. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/new player offer 2024.
Get your goddamn guns up, the Red Raiders! How about Patty Mahomes, huh?
Yeah.
Patty Mahomes.
Yeah.
The owner of the Kansas City Royals won the Super Bowl last night. Just in case you're wondering.
That's true. That's a big win for baseball
talk.
Yeah,
There's your baseball talk. All right.
Yeah. Congratulations to the owner of the Kansas City Royals for winning his third Super Bowl. Yeah, third time. Super Bowl MVP. Yeah.
Yeah, Super Bowl MVP.
He's been the MVP in all three of them.
Yes.
Look at that.
He got MVP.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking, dude.
Well, longest in Super Bowl history, correct?
Did he though?
I mean,
yeah. He nailed one. Longest in Super Bowl history.
I thought what was his name? Moody hit the
longest. It was Moody.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was.
They both hit it.
Yeah, and then Butker hit 4. Did Butker re-break the record after Moody?
I think he re-broke the record.
Okay. Did he?
Okay.
Fuck. So he.
We all watched it.
Right. Well, then Butker has 2 records, right? The most in a Super Bowl and the longest.
Wow, robbed.
Damn.
I did not realize that. I thought.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see that going over too well though in Chiefsville. Harrison Butker.
Any surprises about that? Was anyone surprised the Chiefs won the Super Bowl?
I got to tell you, after the first half, if I wouldn't have been outside screwing around with my kids, I probably would have made an ill-advised financial decision, just based on the way the 49ers were dominating the line of scrimmage. I mean, it was 3.5 a pop from McCaffrey every time he was touching the ball. They did have a tough time, I think, opening stuff up. Brock Purdy looked really good early. And I was just like, it just doesn't feel like the Chiefs are able to get anything going right now. Kelsey was missing in action. He was in the witness protection program the first half. He got 1 ball and then showed up and did what Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes do in the second half. But I think early I was like, I think I might be in trouble here. And then a big fumble. They play the field position game. And the Chiefs, when they needed to, made the fucking play. How about homeboy who caught the touchdown pass? Dude was on the Jets earlier in the year. And they're like, I don't think he's probably not. I don't know if we can find a spot for him here. Well, how's about a spot in the end zone to win the fucking chip?
Good for the Chiefs. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm some diehard Patriots fan. But Jay, actually, let's ask Jake. Jake, how do you feel about Mahomes getting his third?
Yeah, I mean, I would have preferred the Niners, so we didn't have to talk about that narrative. But he's still pretty far away from Brady, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. There was some banter between Troy Aikman and some folks who were talking about Patrick Mahomes and his success. And Troy Aikman said, talk to me when Patrick Mahomes has a third of my Super Bowl victories. And it's like, well, Troy, Ake, I love you, bro. My guy. You're my 8. You're my 8 spot, but damn, Patrick Mahomes. And I know that that's not what Pats fans want to even entertain, right? Like, oh, buddy, what's that? That's 3? Cute. How many more has he got to go to get to Brady? 4? So I get it. You don't even want to have that conversation. But the Chiefs fans are going to be like, you're going to have this conversation. That's fucking 3. And it's about to be 3 in a row, potentially. Never been done before. And if he locks up a 4th MVP, his 3rd in a row, some bitch. There's still a long way to go to get to Brady, though.
Yeah. And I think like it's also like Brady getting that one with Tampa. I feel like Patriots fans are going to like, let's just say Mahomes gets 6. Then it's like, all right, like then he's tied Brady. Like Patriots fans, like there's no, I guess there is a such thing as a Tom Brady fan, but like if he ties, like Patriots fans should only care about the Patriots Super Bowls, but they won't.
Well,
like
no, because it helps their argument.
Patriots fans will count the 7th and be like, no, that's ours too.
Well, but him winning in Tampa almost justifies the overarching feeling of Tom Brady.
Yeah.
In New England. Like, buddy, this is how fucking good he was. We made him this good. He went over there. He won one there. Why wouldn't he? He's been winning them here with us the whole time. You could have put him anywhere. He was going to win one. That's how fucking good we made him. He's our guy. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Speaking of dynasties, Jose Altuve is going to stay in Houston for the remainder of his career, it would seem.
Por vida. Por vida. There's not a better place. Not a better place for Altuve to finish up. Not a better place for him to remain. Look, we can talk about everything that transpired in the past and how he's worked and come through it on the other side. And I think that he and Bregman, I think those guys are going to be Astros. Well, I mean, Altuve will. I think Bregman's the next guy.
You think Bregman's going to stay?
I think so. I think so.
Really? You think he's going to do what Altuve do? I don't even care about the money. I just like the Stros. Stros for life. You guys know him personally.
I don't know if it's necessarily a Stros for life thing. I think, and I think something that would have to happen on the other side of that or during that conversation is what does the retooling of our club look like? Like, what does the future look like? You know, and I'm not saying that Alex Bregman fancies himself as a guy that's going to say, look, I'm centerpiece material for the next 8 years here, and I need to have a firm understanding of what our trajectory is as a club moving forward before I make this kind of. I'm not saying it's that. I'm not saying it can't have some scent of that, but it feels like if there were 2 guys who were meant to stick with this club and stay here and ride it out, it would be Altuve and Bregman.
I feel differently. I do think that if you were going to have any one guy from that Astros dynasty that was going to stay in Houston and ride it out, Houston Astros from birth to death, Jose Altuve is that guy. But do I think that Alex Bregman is going to be joining Jose Altuve in that lifelong pursuit of Houston Astros superstardom? I'm not so sure of that. I don't know. I feel like
Jose Altuve already got his massive contract once.
Yeah, but
I'm just Bregman hasn't.
I mean, they gave him $100 million. Like, it's not like, I mean, it's not like by today's standards. I mean, I'm sure that he'll be worth obviously more than $100 million on the open market. But it kind of just feels like of that era of Astros baseball, the Astros chose Altuve. Like, if we're going to go all in with one guy, that's the guy.
Well, Bregman's a free agent in 25
after this year.
So this will be his. This is his walk year. What does it look like? And I think, because who's his agent? Is he a Boris guy?
No, I don't think so.
No, he's not a Boris guy. Are you sure? I think he's
Boris
he
Corporation.
He switched.
Oh, he switched?
Yes.
He's a Boris Corp.
Yeah.
Damn.
So look, the reason I think that there's some level of comfort there as well for Bregman. I mean, it's going to be tough for him to pack up the salsa operation and take that somewhere else.
Yeah, that's true.
Gotta remember that. But seriously,
salsa operation.
I mean, what about that team though? If you're Alex Bregman, what about this team is telling you that this isn't the place to be? If it's not financially driven and it's about competitiveness, do you feel like, and this is where the Boris conversation comes in, hey, we're going to take stock of that exactly, Alex. We're going to take the temperature of the room and see just how many of these competitive teams are picking up the phone and making the call.
You don't hire Scott Boras to stay where you're at.
No, you don't.
On a hometown discount.
Well, yeah, you don't. So that could be another angle here. Is you don't hire Scott Boras to take the hometown discount, but you absolutely hire Scott Boras to hold their feet to the fire and say, you know how good I am for you. I know how good I am for you. Talk to that guy about it, because you know what that guy's all about.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't come correct there, that it ain't going to happen. So who knows? This could be the year of courtship where Boras is saying, lay it out for me, Mr. Crane. Let me see what these plans look like. Let me see what the future looks like. Because if we're factoring him into that, that's great. Money allotted. From there, what do we look like? What's the draft approach look like? What does free agent retention look like? What is our strategy moving forward? Because if you don't have one that we're in love with, we're going to be picking up the phone.
Yeah, well, there are reports that the Astros are interested in or looking to extend Alex Bregman and not let him get to free agency. I just don't know what the likelihood of something like that would be, especially if you switched agents to Scott Boras. Jay, hey, what's your read on this Astros situation right now?
I mean, I think first the Altuve deal, I think, is a really solid deal for both sides. Altuve, when he came back from injury in late July through the end of the season, was one of the 3 or 4 best players in the AL production wise, regardless, batting average, on base, WAR, it doesn't matter. Like, he was phenomenal. And like, I believe that they even came out and said it, that like his pursuit of like this gives him a reasonable chance at pursuing 3,000 hits and doing so in an Astros uniform. And I think like for lots of legacy reasons, this deal made sense from both a club and a team, like a player perspective. To your point, like I just think it makes a lot of sense for Jose Altuve to finish his career with this team, as opposed to, try to take his situation elsewhere for, a marginal increase in dollars if he was able to get it. And it does seem like a pretty reasonable per year value for the team. Bregman, like you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys seem to be talking about Bregman like he's one of these guys, like he's one of these like guys who gets to dictate franchise policy or something like that. Like, how much better is Alex Bregman than Matt Chapman?
Offensively, I
no,
say
just overall, just as an overall package. Because like to me, like they're I guess my point is that like the market doesn't feel like it's going to be a $250 million market for Alex Bregman. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that doesn't feel like where we're headed. And if it's not that sort of deal, then to me, it feels like a mistake that these two teams or these two sides can't come to agreement on a deal, because like signing Jose Altuve to the deal that they signed him to should not preclude them from also signing Alex Bregman to a deal that is a fair compensation, whatever that number is, 150, 170, like whatever that number is. Because this is a team that has done a lot of winning, and these guys are not like ancient players, particularly in Bregman's case. Unless he's looking to break the bank, but then we're talking about a guy like the break the bank Bregman is like, for different reasons, but like Cody Bellinger, years removed. Like, we're never seeing 2019 from Alex Bregman again, which isn't to say he's not a really, really valuable player, because he is, and he receives MVP votes in each of the last 2 seasons. So to me, it makes, just like it did for Altuve, it makes sense to me that they would find an agreement between Bregman and the Astros, because it doesn't feel like this core is done.
No, it doesn't. Joseph.
Especially when you got fucking Yordan Alvarez and Tucker hanging out.
Hold on, Dallas. Let me fucking ask Joe a question. Is Alex Bregman part of this Astros core moving forward after this year, or is he moving to greener pastures?
I would guess, go with my gut, that he goes somewhere else, because I just feel like it's very rare for a team to have 2 guys like that go into free agency and then keep both of them.
Well, they won't really have anyone like there won't be more than one guy going to free agency because Altuve's already locked up.
Yeah, I mean, but they avoided it by paying Altuve. Are they going to give that same deal to Bregman? I don't think Bregman might make more than that.
Bregman will definitely make
Teams generally like to stay younger and get cheap talent, and I can't think. I don't know. That's my gut feeling.
Yeah.
Well,
because I don't remember a lot of teams. How often do the teams lock up all their players like that when the free
fucking
agency
Yankees in the 90s, I guess.
Well, think about this. Think about this. Who is going to move Alex Bregman internally off of that spot? Think about the Correa-Pena situation, right? Carlos Correa, a guy that you wanted to keep, that you could build around. He's that kind of dude, but they chose not to. And Mr. Pena had a lot to do with that decision-making. They don't necessarily have that going on at third base. And so, Jay, you bring up a guy like Matt Chapman. And is it cost-effective more so to bring a guy like Matt Chapman in? Do you think he's fetching a 5-year $100 million, 5-year $150, or 6-year one? Is that something that's going to happen? If not, then why isn't Alex Bregman that choice?
Why didn't he already sign an extension already?
We don't know that they made him an offer.
Yeah.
Well, then
those could very well be conversations that are happening. Like I said, that's why that could be that is why you make the decision to change representation, is you have a game plan. And it can be both of these things, where I'm going and signing with Boris because if I'm going to stay in Houston, they're going to have to come correct, and he's going to lay that groundwork out for them, and I'm comfortable with that. And if they don't, I'm really comfortable with him getting me my money elsewhere as well. So it's a win-win if you're Alex Bregman, if we're looking at this from a representation perspective. You feel really good about the conversations they'll have with Houston, and you feel just as good about those conversations in the free agent market outside of Houston.
Yeah, and like you said, he's got the salsa company. He's got leverage. He doesn't need the salary of the team, so he can kind of pick his pieces. But to me, hiring Boris, not having all this time, not having an extension yet, and them signing Altuve is 3 things that, to me, I'd guess Bregman plays for the Twins. I'm calling it now. Reuniting with Carlos Correa.
Wow. Jay, do you know anything about this Bryce Matthews kid?
Not enough to say he's going to be an heir apparent.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm just looking at Baseball America has the projected 2027 Houston Astros lineup that has Bryce Matthews, who will be 25 years old at the time, playing third base for the Houston Astros. Does not include Alex Bregman on this team. So Baseball America thinks that Bregman may be moving on.
Wow. Well, I guess you heard it there first.
Yeah. Yeah. I would call text, but I today's not a text day for
Doesn't
me.
feel like it. No.
No. I just got to read the room on that one. Yeah, today for me is not a text day, unfortunately. No disrespect. He's probably listening right now. Shout out Tex and to his sister. But I think it's just not a text day for me. What, Dallas?
Nothing at all. I hate Texas.
Yeah, she's a lovely lady. Yeah. Yeah, you know her. Yeah, so it's it's it should be a good day for the Houston Astros fans. You have Jose Altuve. That's your guy. He is the unofficial but official captain of the Astros. When we look back on this run of Houston Astros baseball, of course, the cheating scandal is going to get brought up. I think most people at this point have moved on. I feel like I moved on faster than most other people. I don't know. Like, you're talking to someone that heavily endorses Barry Bonds' Hall of Fame candidacy and Roger Clemens. Like, I don't know. I feel like the people that act like steroid use and murder are in the same tier. I just kind of get a kick out of those people that are like, but he cheated and he took, like, I get it. Like, I do understand, like, yes, you shouldn't cheat in sports, but like, it's just not going to get me as worked up as it does to like some of the pearl clutchers out there. So when we look back on that Houston Astros era of baseball, like, yeah, 2017, some nefarious acts took place. Some bad stuff went down. Some things were done that should not have been done, but it doesn't taint Jose Altuve for me. Like, Jose Altuve is the face of that franchise. He will have his number retired in Houston, and he does deserve to play his entire career there. I never felt like Jose Altuve, like George Springer, for example, and this, I'm going to try and say this in a way that it doesn't come across as like a ricochet shot, but like, there were some dudes that were part of that 2017 team that I felt both needed to and wanted to move on. They were just like, listen, I got to change laundry because it's going to help my image, and I just want to put this behind me. George Springer, one of those dudes. You can tell, like, hey man, like, this sucks. Like, I feel like I'm a good guy, got caught up in something bad, and I just kind of want to put this behind me, so I'm going to go to Toronto. And I think it's worked for the most part. I feel like he doesn't get booed when he goes from ballpark to ballpark. From what he like, a little, not like the guys that stayed. I think Correa still gets booed in Minnesota because he was such a loudmouth about it after the fact. Like, that's going to carry with him wherever he goes for the rest of his career. But I think Springer was involved in it, and then he left, and it's kind of dissipated for him. Correa, not so much because of how much he was yapping after. But Altuve, I can't even say it's going down with the ship, because the ship is in the fucking ALCS every year.
The ship's
not going down.
No, the ship is extremely buoyant.
No, he's riding it out. Like, it's like, if there was one guy from that 17 team that was going to ride it out, be an Astro for life, it should be Altuve, the guy that, Joe, you can probably speak to this more than anyone else. Like, you did a whole video on it. Didn't really want anything to do with it. Didn't really have much to do with it. I mean, it feels like a good point now, because if we're going to like praise Altuve for staying in Houston, I feel like there probably are still a lot of baseball fans that think that he was like a ringleader or that he was heavily involved in it. And you did a whole video about it. If you could just kind of like surmise it a little bit.
Yeah, the overwhelming evidence, basically, he didn't like the bangs. He didn't get the bangs. There's video of him getting bangs and looking fucking pissed. But I think they recorded like something like 1% of times that should have been bangs, he got a bang. So he had like less than everybody. He was not with the trash can shit. You could say he was complicit and didn't tell on his boys.
He didn't stop it.
Which some people would say, well, who cares if he's on the team, he's just as guilty. And then you're just kind of sound annoying if you do that. Like, that would be worse if you told on your squad for cheating, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But no, Altuve is not a cheater.
Yeah.
And he's also
cognitive dissonance.
What do you mean by that?
What, cognitive dissonance? It's just you're like, like, man, I'm aware that this is not great. I have values. I'll look the other way, but I don't stand for it. as well. Like you're just caught in this like catch-22, you know? And
He probably read the rule book. There's nothing in the rule book explicitly says you can't bang on trash cans, tell your team what pitch is coming. It's not in the rule book.
Maybe I don't know, Jay. I don't know if you recall, but when the whole like Astros cheating scandal went down, I don't think we ever like asked Dallas, how would you have handled it? Which is crazy. Like we had a former MLB player sitting right there,
Like
someone who I have the utmost respect for and feel like he's one of the like he's more of like a ring general, so to speak, a man of integrity, and has probably the highest level of respect for the game of baseball for as far as like someone that I know personally. We never sat here and asked Dallas Braden, if you were in that Astros clubhouse and you knew that that was going on, how would you have handled it? What would you have done?
I can tell you that I honestly don't know what I would have done, because I've answered a similar question like this, and I've used the great Randy Johnson as an example, only because he was potentially on his way to the Oakland A's at one point when he ended up signing with San Francisco. They were talking about him coming home. He's from Livermore, which is in the Bay Area. Could he go to Oakland? Could he go to San Francisco? And I thought to myself, and I've used this as an example, I said, if a guy like me with my stuff had a guy like Randy Johnson come in at the end of his career, beginning of mine, and was like, hey, man, I got this stuff. I got this thing that you're 88, 89 on average. Like, we can bump that up. We can get you 92s, 93s on good days. Even late July, August, it's still going to be there. What do you think? This is what's helped me. And I'm saying if a guy of his status came to me and said that, I don't know that I would be able to look at him and say, you know what, man, that's great and it's worked for you, but it's not for me. I don't know what that conversation is like, because I've had some conversations that are, you know, where you got to check your morals. And when I say that, I don't mean that I checked my morals at the door and then moved on. You have those conversations where now when I show up at the ballpark, things are going to be different. Our conversations are going to be different because of what I've chosen to do or the ground I've chosen to stand on. So in that regard, if I'm a young guy, I find it really difficult to be able to walk in and stare a veteran, a potential Hall of Famer in the face and say, what you're doing right now in your pursuit for the ultimate goal is not okay with me, the 25th man on the roster, and we're not going to do this. I don't know that I'm even allowed to say that. Even if I say it, there's a solid chance that I get put in the corner, so to speak, where, look, buddy, that's great. I got 15 years in this game and we're on our way. You're not going to say a fucking thing about this. Got it? So I don't know how that conversation goes. I would love to be able to tell you, put it like this, man. There's a reason I'm sitting here today with my arm, quite literally, outside of the fucking sling, is because I chose not to make those decisions. I chose to play the cards that were dealt to me. And there were opportunities where I very well could have maybe allowed science to get me back to a place where I could have competed. But I sleep at night. And I'm okay with looking the dude in the mirror that I have to look at every day because I know the decisions that I made. And so from the competition perspective, I would love to be able to tell you that I would be able to find that high moral ground. But in that situation, I don't know that I would have been allowed to climb to that high moral ground based on the veteran presence that was around that we know about, right?
Yeah. It's an interesting conversation topic. Maybe we did hit on it. I don't recall if we did at the time ask you, what was that? That would have been October, November of 2019. Yeah. It was like
I wouldn't know anything about that that period, you know.
No,
Jay Hay stepped out to get cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That was the Dr. Claw era, I believe you guys.
Yeah. 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 There's still people that like ask, like, was that Jay Hay? We're like, I don't know, man.
It's the sort of question. It's the sort of question you don't ask in polite company.
Right. Yeah, it's very true. Jay Hay's been on a little media tour recently. Been doing he put a call out. Hey, if you get a podcast, you want to move the fucking needle here.
Get your little bourbon and baseball in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had fun. Like, if somebody's gonna ask me, I will do it.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I to say no?
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it.
It's hard to stay humble when your last name is Havens.
Yeah.
Shout out George.
Jorge. Much love.
Yeah. I recall that line getting dropped at the wedding. Got to talk about seed real quick.
About what? What are we talking about?
Seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me
daily symbiotic. I feel like this is up your alley, Dallas.
Well,
You have beautiful. Is your mic just cut out? No, you good?
if my mic cut out, I'm going to throw it down and I'm going to walk off this fucking.
You're good. You're good.
What?
Yeah. Your body is an ecosystem, and great health starts in the gut. Don't ask Dallas about that. He'll just show you his 209 ab tattoo. Your gut is a central hub for various pathways through the body, and a healthy gut means benefits for digestion, skin health, heart health, your immune system, and more. Seeds' patented capsule-in-capsule design means fragile bacteria can survive the journey from shipping to your door to where it works in your body the best. So it gets to where your body really needs it, all without synthetic or chemical coatings. DS-01 was developed in collaboration with Seed's scientific board and based on their foundational work in probiotics. With the new clinical trials and breakthrough research published in top scientific journals, Seed's probiotic research, development, and innovation programs make DS-01 a product that you can trust. Probiotics and prebiotics work best when used consistently, like other routine health habits. Seed's subscription service easily builds DS-01 into your routine with no refrigeration needed. Trust your gut with Seed's DS-01 Daily Symbiotic. Go to seed.com/dead and use the promo code 25, that is 25 DEAD, 25 dead, to get 25% off your first month. That is 25% off your first month of Seed's DS-01. Head on over to seed.com/dead, promo code 25 dead. We got a bunch of segments lined up for today's show. Some news topics that we want to hit on. But we did preface last week by saying we're going to do the all-time pitcher Mount Rushmore, which we're going to get into today. I never know what story Joe's going to tell us, but story time with Joe later in the show. And what year are we going back to, Jay Hay?
1931, first year of the
1931. BBWAA. A juicy MVP segment, 1931. The first time those geeks got a vote, that's the first vote, 1931. Clayton Kershaw is back with the Doyers. This is, it shouldn't come as a surprise. I feel like, when did the Kershaw to the Rangers rumor start? That was like 3 years ago. Like he's been going to the top. Your mic's cut out, Dallas. Your mic's not working. Kershaw back to the Dodgers. I mean, Jay, hey, I'll ask you. It was never going to be the Rangers. It was either going to be a reunion with LA or it was going to be retirement. And I really did not get the sense that retirement was on the table for him just yet.
No, this seemed like literally a foregone conclusion. I know he was among the list of players that was still a free agent and available, but I didn't consider him in the same like batch of guys because it just seemed like I don't know why it took as long as it did. Maybe he just wanted to like not deal with this sort of thing. But it always seemed like he was going to head back to LA. They're the perfect spot for him in terms of the depth that they have and the timeline that he is on. And when they really need him to be pitching, and we've talked about it many times, when Kershaw is pitching, he's often extremely effective. It's just he doesn't provide the bulk that he used to. So I think this makes all sort of sense, and as I said, was a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess from what you're saying about the let's just say he gives you 20 starts. That's like best case scenario. Kershaw gives you 20 starts. I'd be more than happy with that. Now you're leaning heavily on Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who's in his first year in the big league, so we don't really know how that's going to go. Tyler Glasnow is someone who, while I love, not exactly an innings eating guy. I like you probably know better than me. Like, what's he averaged over like the last 3-4 seasons? I mean, I guess you can't count 2020. But it's like, we're talking 130 maybe.
I mean, Glasnow?
Yeah.
No, I mean, his career high in innings pitched was 120 this past season.
Okay. So, yeah. All right. Yamamoto, while I still think you're gonna, I think he'll make the starts. I think he'll post. I'm not exactly worried about Yamamoto. Glasnow, 120 is his career high. Bobby Miller, don't really know what you're going to get there. James Paxton, they had to restructure the deal because of injury concerns. And then Clayton Kershaw, who we just mentioned, is, maybe you'll get 100 innings. Maybe.
But also Walker Buehler is coming back.
Walker Buehler's coming back. But again, what does that
May?
look like?
Where's May at in his
He's
recovery?
still probably like the summer.
But they've got Bobby Miller.
They got Bobby Miller, who I like a lot, by the way. Like I was
yeah, I mean that's fucking thunder.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's not just tired fucking no, that's
I mean, they also have what should be a pretty deep and effective bullpen too.
The Dodgers actually seem good this year.
Yeah, Joe, like, when you start to dive into it, yeah, on paper they could be a team that could compete, Joe, I think.
Yeah.
I could see them. Yeah, I could see them getting after it this year.
Yeah, I think Kershaw. What's funny is it feels like Kershaw is one of those guys. And when I think about this, think about Pujols. Did his legacy in St. Louis, or was his legacy in St. Louis, or was his legacy as a St. Louis Cardinal, as a baseball player in general? When we look back on it, was it affected by the lack of production that we saw from him in Anaheim, to the point where he doesn't have the shine of the Cardinal great that he is, that we will always remember him as, knowing that last half season also helped reestablish him as that Cardinal great and help?
What?
Mike cut out again.
Your
Mike
mic
cut out again.
He's about to fucking tear his shoulder again, throwing that mic 100 miles per hour off the TV screen behind him.
Whatever. I'm going to pick up for Dallas. I don't necessarily know exactly where he was going with the Pujols stuff, but I think all of us know. I mean, we were together when it happened, except for Dallas, how Kershaw's season ended and how the Dodgers season ended. And I just, like, he came out and said that I can't go out that way. I didn't want to go out that way. I think that was ultimately how I came to it, was the quote that he gave. And given that, like, Jared, you said 100 innings, like, I think the amount of guaranteed money in this deal and when he's likely to be suiting up, I think we ramp down our expectations considerably from that. And that if he's healthy and pitching in August and September, this is like that's the positive scenario. But he could be an absolute weapon for them in the right spots down the stretch too. So I think like it's no money at all for the Dodgers. His legacy is here, and like it would suck even as a neutral fan of like I'm not like a diehard Clayton Kershaw guy, for him to go out in the way that he went out. Even I know that the surgery was more complicated than ones he's had before on other parts of his body or whatever, but like to go out the way that he did would have sucked for a like inner circle Hall of Fame player.
So what, like with the Pujols thing, Pujols spent his time in St. Louis, great Cardinal, a decade in the witness protection program in Anaheim, 3 months or 2 months or whatever and change back in a St. Louis Cardinals uniform. And it's almost like that helped remind everybody that had maybe forgotten over the last decade that Albert Pujols is this all-time great St. Louis Cardinal. That's who he is. That's where the legacy will always be. And even 10 years spent away from that, really meddling in Anaheim, didn't really affect that much, if at all. And it feels like Clayton Kershaw is probably a similar type player. Well, even if he went to Texas and didn't win the World Series, pitched the way we think he'll probably pitch in LA, maybe 20 starts like we've talked about. I mean, the idea is he's going to show up in June. And if you get 5 a month out of him, fantastic. But all that being said, his legacy is where? Right here in LA. So I don't know that a move outside of LA would necessarily affect how we look at Clayton Kershaw, how we view him in the pantheon of starting pitching, in the pantheon of great Dodgers. It wouldn't affect much at all. It'd almost be like, okay, we all get it. He just wants to pitch one season at home, and then that's going to be that.
It would have been Brady to the Bucks. It just would have been like, why did you do that? Like, why? Like, I get why. Like Brady, it's like, yeah, I want to prove that it was me and not Belichick, and he had a chance to win another ring, whatever. But like, it's like you built this all-time great, legendary legacy with one team, and now you're just gonna like ride off into the sunset with this random location. Like, I get that, like in Kershaw's case, that's where he's from. And he would also have a chance to win a World Series on his way out. But it's like, it's not like you don't have that opportunity in LA. Like, you have the greatest opportunity to do that in LA.
And maybe this is me just, my heart leading the way here, but I want to see Clayton Kershaw walk off the mound at Chavez Ravine for the last time.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him walk off any other mound for the last time. No. And I'm not a fucking Dodger fan, but when I think about images and I think about watching Clayton Kershaw, 22, walk off that mound and tip his cap with that sunset in the background, it's got Dodger blue all over it. And it's got the Dodger faithful losing their shit because of what he's given them and what they have given him. That moment being shared only happens and should only happen in LA.
Yeah. It would feel weird. I mean, I can't put myself in a Rangers fan's position. Maybe if I'm a Rangers fan, I'm excited about the prospect of a Hall of Famer, GOAT of a generation coming to my team to ride it out. But I think for me, like, let's just say Kershaw grew up in Boston and he wanted to come to the Red Sox to just play for his hometown team for one season before retiring. I would be like, no, dude, like as much as I love you and I love watching you pitch, like, you're just stay there. Like, you gotta finish the story, as they say. Like, go ahead and no, I don't know. I would feel guilty about it.
Well,
but
it feels like what's left to the story for Clayton Kershaw? What do you like? You know what I mean? What is left?
Winning
the story,
winning a real one. I mean, there's still plenty of people that will, like, when it's all said and done, will say the only World Series he ever won was the Mickey Mouse one. Like, it would be nice to be able to shut those people. I'm not one of those people. I've said all along, when the Dodgers won the World Series, they went through every team that I feel like they would have gone through if it was a regular 162 season. Like they went through those teams, and because it was a 60-game season, you had someone like Kershaw who is fresh for the postseason, and that's, as fans, that's what we want to see. We don't want to see Kershaw out of fumes after a full 162, so I'm glad that we had that. But there are definitely people who will say, if he doesn't win another one, that like the only one he had was a Mickey Mouse one.
Well, but hold on. Those same type of people who are going to do the Mickey Mouse ring thing are not going to be satisfied by Clayton Kershaw getting another ring as the 5th best pitcher on his own team. They're just not, because he's never moving forward. It is exceptionally unlikely that Clayton Kershaw is going to be carrying such a load during a postseason run that people are pointing to him as the reason that they are winning. It's going to be Yamamoto. It's going to be maybe Glass now puts it together for a full 30 starts over a season or whatever. Kershaw is going to be a complementary piece moving forward. The contract, the surgery, all of those things point towards that. And so anybody who's going to do the Mickey Mouse thing is not going to be like, oh, well, now I respect Clayton Kershaw because he got ring number 2 throwing, 47 innings over the course of the entire 2024 season.
He got that ring because of the other boys. He rode the coattails.
Yes, exactly,
he didn't
right.
do shit. He didn't
Look at that offense. Ohtani, Betts,
exactly.
Freeman. Yeah, no.
What would you
Whoever's
have
not
him do?
satisfied already is not going to be satisfied no matter what the man does moving forward.
So I agree and disagree at the same time. I agree that if you're dumb enough to not have respect for Clayton Kershaw by now, that one postseason run is not going to change that. I agree. But where I disagree is where Clayton Kershaw can't be a difference maker for a Dodgers World Series champion this year. Because if it is a situation where, he comes back in August and pitches in September, that means he's going to be just like in the 2020 60-game season, he's going to be fresh for October. So what if he just fucking goes off in October and he's just like, lights out for a month? That's really all he needs to be. I think that is completely on the table.
I think this is an issue of like semantics, or you and I just having a cross on words. Like I think he can make a difference in a Dodgers postseason World Series run. I think he can be part of why they're winning. He's never going to be the reason that they are winning. He's never going to be the guy who's throwing the huge bulk of innings or making multiple starts within a postseason series. Like, that is over. And so, like, yes, I'm with you. Like, I that's why I like the deal, because I think he can make impacts in the right spots for them on a team that probably doesn't need to be concerned about whether or not it's making the postseason. But I just don't think, to the narrative thing, it's just not, it's baked in. People believe what they believe, and I'd love to see him have more great signature postseason moments, but it would be really hard to count on that at this point.
Yeah. Joe, where are you at on Kershaw?
I think I wouldn't be surprised if he did play in the playoffs and was like, I mean, if you look at their rotation right now, based on who's healthy, he would be either second or third in the rotation behind Yamamoto, maybe Glass now. I guess Bobby Miller and Paxton.
Bobby Miller.
I mean, there are a lot of question marks. I wouldn't be surprised if we go to the postseason, a few of these guys are injured, and Clayton Kershaw is the guy making multiple starts. And he had a 2.46 ERA last year. Even though he's old, he's not even that old, really. He's kind of old, but he ain't as old as Scherzer or Verlander. He's 35. He's like the same age as DeGrom. That's like the mind-blowing shit everyone brings up. That's crazy.
They do talk about Kershaw like he's 43,
right? It's like he was an all-star last year, had a 2.46 ERA, and people were like, well, he might just hang it up because he's fucking washed. And I get why, because he's pitched a shit ton of innings and was injured and keeps getting injured, and his workload keeps going down. But when he pitches, he's fire.
But I mean, but that point you made about their workload, his workload going down, is exactly why people have been treating him as if he's older than he actually is, because Justin Verlander and his peers are going out there and logging Cy Young campaigns at 3 or 4 years older than Kershaw is. And Kershaw, to your point, hasn't made 30 starts. The last time Kershaw made 30 starts was 2015.
Well, he made 29 and 19, so we're counting that. 28. We're still counting that.
That's close enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a
You know what
3-inch
that's not?
putt.
That's not making
gimme.
multiple starts in a postseason series for you.
Well, why do you need to throw that many innings to make multiple starts in the postseason? Like Jared said, if he's rested up,
If he's coming off
2020
of a
all over
shoulder
again?
surgery, a major shoulder surgery in which he is not able to return until July at the earliest, and he has basically no recent history of success pitching on multiple times during a postseason series, why would we expect that that's something that he's going to be able to do? We're talking about like a 5% likelihood scenario.
I don't know. It's Clayton Kershaw. We had
It is Clayton. That's exactly the point.
Verlander
It's Clayton
a few
Kershaw.
years ago come back from Tommy John throwing 99, won a Cy Young.
It is evidently two totally different pitchers at this point.
Why?
What?
I'm saying like Verlander coming off Tommy John. Were people not saying the same shit? Why can't it happen again? It's
because right before Justin Verlander went down, he was logging full campaigns. There wasn't a wind down period happening for Justin Verlander prior to just fucking blowing out and then having to get it repaired and then coming back and then being a dominant motherfucker again. Clayton Kershaw hasn't been that guy in almost a decade.
Yeah, but dude, you get the surgery.
And he hasn't hit 99 in like his whole career.
99. I didn't have to throw 99. I'm just telling you right now, man. Don't talk shit about Kershaw. I could see him. Like, why
this whole thing started by me saying I like the deal and that he could make an impact for them in the postseason. And then you guys have said that he could make an impact for them in the postseason, and we're all agreeing on that. What we're not agreeing on is that he's not going to be a horse for them moving forward or change any narrative about him.
Yeah, I mean,
which is exactly what I said. That's what it didn't matter if the motherfucker was doing it in LA or Texas. If he gives you this last year that we think it might be, if he gives that to you in Texas, nobody cares. The only thing that we're pissed about is we don't get the romantic fall in love with Clayton Kershaw on the way out wearing a Dodger uniform. Is he helping the Texas Rangers any more than he's helping the Dodgers? Absolutely fucking not.
Wouldn't it get a little weird if he went to the Rangers and they just became like a halfway house of like old Hall of Fame pitchers or like former Cy Young winners who are well compensated?
That would have been cool though. I mean,
it would have been cool in its own way, for sure.
Yeah.
If they all pitched, if they were pitching at the same time at any point.
Yeah. For historical perspective, to be able to look back and say that all those guys were in the same rotation. It's like 50 years from now, no one's going to care that they were all on crutches at the time or needed walkers to get from the fucking players lot to the clubhouse. But it would have been cool just to be able to say it. Kind of, I mean, like, it's different. Like, I mean, the fact that we got Glavine, Smoltz, and Maddox in the same rotation while they were all fucking ballers is something that we'll probably just never see again. I mean, like, you could say Mulder and fucking Zito. No. I'm saying you could say Hudson. You could say as far as like a three-headed monster, but they were not like a...
Those are three Hall of Famers.
Well, to that point, you got those three A's guys in the prime of their careers. Their primes just weren't what the Braves guys were.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, they're just not Hall of Fame pitchers.
Yeah, they're all very good.
Their place in baseball lore are just wildly different tiers. But
that could be the Dodgers. Yamamoto, Shohei, Kershaw, another shoulder surgery, comes back next year.
There is that 25 option.
There's an option.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. Well, that was a spirited debate.
It got heated.
It did get heated. The Billy Eppler story is only interesting to me because of the witch huntiness that it feels like. At what point did we start to crack down on baseball executives stashing players on the injured list as a roster manipulation move? Like, that is just a tale as old as time. Like, we're going to start punishing.
You've just pissed somebody off. You've pissed somebody off. You're in somebody's crosshairs.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's very confusing. And the fact that he's not even with the Mets anymore. Like, it would make more sense if it was a way to kind of like, oh, we can't get you on this. It's like when fucking Al Capone got thrown in jail on tax evasion. It's like, yeah, we can't get you on all the other shit, so we're gonna put
racketeering.
so we're gonna put you in jail for tax evasion. It's like, why would you come at the Mets or Billy Eppler when he's no longer involved? And it's like every team does. It's like the most widely known thing that baseball teams do. Yeah,
So, maybe
and
it's
they'll fucking tell the players that. Like player. I mean, I'm sure Dallas, you can probably speak to this. Like they will be open and honest with the players. Like, hey, yeah. Your elbow, it's barking at you today, right? Yeah. All right. So we're going to need you to fucking take a couple weeks off.
There's times where you see players leave town. Players don't stay with an organization because that has been something that has been proposed to them. And they say, no, I'm not going to do that. That's actually not how I'm going to roll. So you will have to release me and you'll have to do all of this other business if you think that that's what you're going to do to me. Not going to happen to me. This stuff happens more so to the younger players and players that don't necessarily have that cachet to go, you know what, GM, fuck you. I'm not going on the IL, actually. You're going to have to make a move.
I know this is a delicate situation given the platform that we're on, and this is total speculation, but like this feels like a shot across the bow at all front offices that are behaving this way, and maybe Eppler was the most egregious. And it seems coincidental that it's happening with the influx
NBA.
of gambling and stuff like that in the sport, not just baseball, but all sports, and that there has been a similar crackdown on IR reporting,
load management,
and yes, and in the NBA specific to load management and the health of star players and their availability to play. Well, that's not exactly what's going on here, but I do think that like a cleaning up of the transparency of injury reporting is absolutely connected with the fact that people are putting tons and tons of money via gambling into the sport now.
And Jay, you know what I said? You know what I think could very well potentially start to happen is MLB goes the way of hockey. Now you're not getting the elbow, you're not getting the forearm, you're not getting the flexor bundle type of detail. You're getting lower arm injury, upper arm injury, upper body injury. Where he took a skate to the fucking kidney, or he got high stick, he took one to the neck and upper body. It's all the same. Upper body, fingernail, upper body, and that could be something. But look what happened for the folks who aren't following the NBA. Embiid. Right? MVP candidacy gone out the window. Not wholly and solely because he was trying to play through the meniscus issue. Was it his meniscus, Jay?
Yeah, correct.
Knee issue, right?
It ended up being a meniscus. Yeah.
So whether or not Joel Embiid trying to play through this to maintain his MVP candidacy was the result of this injury. But that's something that you also have to think about. But you said exactly what I said as well the other day about the gambling aspect of this. You can't ignore that artery. You can't ignore that is a very real factor in the decision-making process when it comes to our sport entertainment as we know it. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, everything in between. Right? There's dollars, real dollars now attached. Let's remember, folks, Major League Baseball lineups find their way to Vegas before they find their way to the home plate umpire. Just remember that. And it's for a reason. That's the world we live in.
Joe, what do you think? I probably think you get some sort of fucked up conspiracy theory on why they're cracking down on Billy Eppler out of all the baseball executives who have ever done something like this. Why the Mets? Why Billy Eppler?
Mets probably did the worst, dude. They're a bunch of fucking conniving little scumbags, bro. That's why they're the most depressing franchise. They have years and years of bad karma. It just makes sense. Like you would get this guy, fuck the Mets. Probably what MLB was thinking, but like, I know everyone. It is weird why they would go after Billy Eppler. Did he get? I guess he stepped down from the Mets last season when he was getting investigated for this. And I don't know if that's why he stepped down or who knows. Whenever someone steps down, that's very, what did you really step down?
Yeah.
They're making you step down. But
Uncle Stevie say, hey, look, pal, we've got this whole thing going on where we're trying to not be the Mets anymore. So I'm going to need you to take a fucking backseat.
But for this seems so, like everyone keeps saying, it seems like not even it's like an unwritten rule. Like you're getting investigated for the smallest shit ever and then you got to step down. This
is so I get this vibe. Like, it's like, hey man, this is kind of like walking out to the umpire and asking him to check the pitcher for sticky stuff, knowing full well guys in your bullpen very well may have some sticky stuff. It's like, why are you? What is prompting this?
I feel like prompting this? Maybe MLB saw Epler's gone. He's not going to be on any team this year. Let's make a deal. Let's just crack down on this guy, set an example of him because he wasn't going to be in a front office this year anyway. So suspend him for 1 year. He gets to go to the beach for a year, and then comes back. Whatever he can be the.
It could very well be about crossing T's, dotting I's. Somebody's head needed to roll. Oh, well, how about the guy who resigned, who's okay with being away from the game for a year? You'll stay away, which you're okay with. We'll act like we're the ones who levied that punishment. Great. And now everybody moves on. Sound good? Sounds great. Like nobody loses, everybody wins.
Yeah, it'll be
MLB looks like they've done their job. Billy Eppler looks like he's somebody of, who's going to take his lumps and keep moving.
No owner is rankled because he's not currently employed.
Everything's good. Everything is this is what we call business, baby. You do this kind of shit in a suit and tie, and we get to call it business.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, and I hate to say this and speculate, but it feels like just since, especially coming from the Mets organization, they probably did something a lot worse, and this is the cover-up. They probably fake birth certificates, stole money, stole players, colluded, cheated, and then this is kind of like, we're gonna fire you because it'd be a massive scandal. But it's going to be interesting to see if there's going to be an actual decrease or this is going to change anything in Phantom IL, if this is going to scare people or not.
So the one thing that Rosenthal noted in an Athletic column that I just noticed was that in the interviews that MLB conducted, there were like both documents and electronic records related to the improper IL usage. And he notes that is atypical in terms of accusations of improper IL placements, because I guess most of the time people are smart enough to not have that sort of documentation would be my guess.
You don't write it down. Don't write it down. That's why the doors get closed when you walk into the fucking training room. That's why the fucking door in the training room gets closed. The door going to the door that goes to the... That's why what you hear here, what you see here, that's just... Come on. You gotta be fucking better than that.
But to Joey's point about like, the idea that this is what's being punished because something worse is going on. I don't think that's true of the Mets. I think that this is just such a pervasive issue, as we've said, within Major League Baseball, that like this is the example that is going to be punished, and everybody else better clean their fucking act up. Because otherwise we're coming for you, and we're coming for your active GM or your active president or whatever it might be.
Now, Jay, hey, think about it from this respect as well. Somebody who's an NBA guy, you understand that when the Lake Show rolls into town in Minnesota, that's a one night only. That's a one night only, right? We're here for one night. You're going to get the gate for one night. So you're going to get a LeBron gate is what you're going to get. Well, no LeBron probably doesn't set well with the folks in Minnesota, or at least they're thinking that gate looks a little different than it does if LeBron's not playing. Well, think about the Dodgers rolling into Minnesota. Now you got Shohei on the shelf, you got Mookie on the shelf, you got whoever else on the shelf, right? No Walker Buehler, no whatever. And now it's like, well, this is 3 days in a row where we're not getting these guys. Well, like that's problematic.
And I know
that's an issue.
I know this is a tangent now, but like there were headlines were grabbed when Inter Milan didn't play Messi when they were over in China or whatever, and now like they're like China's not even retaliating against Inter Miami because what can they fucking do at that point? But it's like they're canceling Argentina's friendlies over this situation because Messi didn't play and, fees were charged accordingly and, stuff like that. So it's like that. I mean, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing when there's as
economic-
much money invested in these properties as we've said multiple times now. It's just a whole new level of money, and you can't fuck around like they have with the IL for the past, whatever existence of the IL.
No, and I'll tell you right now, it's people that are counting those dollar bills. It's people that are tracking those dollar bills that are going to have a hell of a lot more to say about stuff like this going on in these sport entities than it is the governing bodies of these sport entities. So your favorite sport, that commissioner's office, they're going to be dictated to on how this is going to go down.
Speaking of things going down, Dallas, it's about to go down with Indochino.
Oh.
Actually, you know whose bachelor party I just got invited to?
Tell me immediately.
Hubs in Vegas. Yeah, I don't know. I listen. I said I got to pick my battles. I feel like at in my age 35 season, I don't know that I could pull off a Vegas bachelor party. I don't think. And
did I not get my? Hold on. So I didn't. Oh man.
Do you want me to call him right now?
Yeah, that's crazy. Was like your invite like for all of us, or was it? How did that work? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all show up, right?
I feel like what's that trip for you, Dallas? How long would it take you to get to Vegas?
It's a 40-minute flight.
Oh, I mean, do you want to take my place? Though. Yeah. Do you want to sub in for me? Just wear a GoPro.
I'm washing my hair that day. I'd love to, but it's been on the books for a while.
I'm gonna go to his wedding. His wedding is like in fucking Newport Beach or something fancy like that. It's like out in like California. I'm like, bro, you're Hubs. Like you should be getting married in a dumpster in fucking Hoboken.
some bad fucking bowling alley multi-purpose room with a fucking stage up off to the left with some tattered drawn curtains.
Yeah,
the fucking childcare going on in the background. Some fucking drunk idiot outside clanging the door. Let me in!
The walls are carpeted. You can just tell that there's nothing but tar and nicotine in the walls. That's where Hubs should be getting married.
Oh, fucking doilies on the armchairs.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but no, this kid's having his bachelor party in Vegas. Pat Light is invited, and I was like, I love Pat Light, but Pat Light plus Vegas plus bachelor party equals I don't know that I'm going to have a happy home to come home to on the other end of that.
So Hubs is just inviting people that have a lot more money than him so they could come and make his bachelor party a good time.
That checks out too. Yeah, that's why I'm surprised you didn't get the invite.
Yeah, no. Why? I think like being able to stand the individual has to be you got to be able to check that box too.
It's also you as the facilitator of fun. I feel like you. It's not about your relationship with Hubs. It's about using him as a vehicle for fun.
Yeah, I mean, I gave him one of the greatest nights in Boston, and he'll never remember.
Yeah, yeah, I remember it well though.
I remember him
bleeding
on the floor, under the table, in the fetal position after drinking a fucking shot glass full of curdled milk.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gave up. Jay, I fed him a shot of Three Wise Men and then a fucking cement mixer. I followed it up with a cement. Oh, and he fucking puked all over himself. And then ended up underneath the table. Just I lost him for about an hour and he came back fucking bleeding all over himself.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what Mrs. Hubs is going to think when she listens. Because obviously I'm assuming she's a listener. Yeah.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But
yeah. I'll stop story time there.
Yeah. Listen, we love wearing our sports gear, but you can't wear a jersey all the time. Indochino makes fully customized suits that don't require a trip to the tailor to get that perfect fit. Measure yourself in 10 minutes or visit a showroom. Wear your new look right out of the box. Stay out of your budget's red zone with custom suits starting at just $399. Listen, I know that you can go in and you can measure yourself. I'm a showroom guy. I don't trust myself to measure myself. And
you're a showroom guy, not a go room guy?
Yeah. Like, I'm like, listen, I trust the professionals to do what the professionals do. So I go in, I get my measurements done, and and you know what? Not to brag, Dallas, but for all the Jared's fat talk that happened last year, I'm down some LBs. That's why you got to go to the showroom and get measured yourself. It's like, I'm not as fluffy.
The fat talk came from you giving up on yourself. That's not me or Jay. That's you.
I'm not fluffy no more. I haven't been fluffy in about 4 or 5 months now.
Well, I've noticed that you've started to wear a little baggier clothing. So, I mean, maybe that's
because it's a great unveiling that's going to be taking place this summer.
Oh, okay. I got it.
You know what? It's
kind of like pump cover. I get it. You're
like a jersey retirement where they pull the tarp off and they're like, oh.
Is it going to be like those old Weight Watchers commercial where you're like hiding behind the 4X size pants you used to wear?
Yeah.
Like, look at me now.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to be in on the Vegas bachelor party, but I'll go to the wedding. And I'll go there with a suit from Indochino.
You should send me the address when you get to Newport.
You gonna is that close by you too as well?
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? It's not Newport. I think it's literally Laguna Beach. Is that close to you too?
I mean, it's similar distance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Laguna Beach. Yeah. Was that a show? That was a show, right?
Yeah. That was a show.
These are suits designed to fit you. Made to your exact measurements and customizations. Endless customization options to get that exact look that you want, from buttons and vents to pockets and lapels. Custom clothing at surprisingly affordable prices. Quality wools, Dallas. I know you're a wool guy.
I am a wool guy.
Linen and cotton in different colors and patterns. Set up your measurement profile in under 10 minutes at home or make a showroom appointment. New colors, fabrics, and outerwear styles added regularly, so it's easy to create your next look. Level up your game with Indochino. Go to Indochino.com. Use the promo code DEAD to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. That is 10% off at Indochino, Indochino.com with the promo code DEAD. I go back to our topics list, and it kind of fucked us. The fact that like a lot of the top stories were, we're doing it once a week in the off season. Like a lot of this shit happened a few days ago. Maybe it's old news to other people, but I want to play those Josh Hader comments, specifically the usage stuff. This was from Foul Territory. Josh Hader went on talking about basically like, fuck you, pay me.
Talking about the business.
Yeah, it is business.
It sucks that the business had to come in that way, because it is. At the end of the day, I love playing this game. I'm going to do anything I can to win. But also, you got to think about the health of yourself and being able to provide for your family. Now, I was, like you said, I was going through the arbitration system, and I was with the Brewers. It's not like the Padres put me through that process, but the system told me that the way that any reliever, not even just myself, but any reliever is valued based off saves. And, for me at the time, I was going multiple innings, going from the 4th inning, maybe to the 7th, also doing 2 2/3 save outings and just different things like that. Like, which I was fine with. But when I was told to my face that, that's not worth anything, like, you got to get saves. That's where I was like, well, I'm not going to blow my arm out if you're not going to invest in me. So my investment back was I'll get you the inning, I'll get you the saves, and we'll do everything. But you got to put a team and a bullpen around to do that, right? And obviously, the team that we had going into that year, we had a back end bullpen that was unbelievable. So, I think that's where things sometimes show a little bit more of the business when, things kind of fall out of place where, maybe we get into a jam and we need some help and everybody's expecting that to be me. So, yeah, I mean, it hurts obviously for the fan base, and it's not something that I wanted to do to them. But at the same time, I have to take care of myself and make sure that I make it healthy out of that year. But like I said before, I think the biggest thing a lot of people don't realize is like once you get to playoffs, for me, it was like full game. Like I was willing to do whatever we needed to do to win. Because I think, and obviously you guys play this game, is like it takes a complete army to make it through a whole entire season. And it's going to take guys from the minor leagues. It's going to take guys that are coming back from injuries to step up and do their job. So I think that's kind of where at that moment, like we were close to potentially making a playoff spot. And at that end of the year where they think, oh, well, if he could have came in this situation, maybe we could have won. And now, obviously, hypothetically, like if I do my job correctly, like sure. But if I go in there and blow it, like what's the saying then? And I understand that, like, you would rather have that opportunity to say, look, we gave it the chance and he failed, but at least that he tried. But at the end of the day, to the Padres fans, I gave it my all, but it sucks that the business had to kind of put that sour taste in their mouth.
Interesting. It was interesting. It's so my struggle, and maybe I don't know if you can relate to this or not because you are former player first, then media, but like you'll always have that former player gene in you. Whereas for me, I'm fan first, but in my 7-8 years and working alongside you, like I've absorbed a lot of the players' perspective, like the line of thinking where I can like, I guess it just kind of like opens my eyes to it more and I can see it. I guess maybe it's also part of just being an adult. Like I'm not 24 anymore. Like I can see like the business side where players are coming from. So the fan in me wants to be like, well, man, don't you just want to do whatever you can to help the team win? Like, isn't that about what like competitive sports are about? And you're getting paid millions of dollars to go out there and do whatever your team asks you to do in order to win the game at whatever cost. And, watching Joe's video about like baseball in Japan, you've got these fucking teenage pitchers going out there throwing 300 pitches and then coming back and throwing 300 more the next day just to win a high school tournament. They're not even getting paid to do it. And then hearing Hader be like, yeah, I mean, like, I used to go out there and pitch 2 1/3 innings if it would help us win the game. But then I'm being told by my team that I get paid for saves. I don't get paid for I'll get paid just as much for a 3-inning save as I would for a 7-out save. Like it's all the same to me. So from that business perspective, I get where Hader's coming from. It's like if I'm going to, if my team, if I'm on the San Diego Padres and they have not approached me about a contract extension, letting me know we're going to take care of you for the future, like you're going to be good no matter what, you're going to be here, we value you. If that conversation is not taking place, why am I going out there and putting more miles on my arm, putting myself in situations that put me at a higher risk for injury? If your commitment to me is not the same as the commitment that I'm willing to make to you. So yeah, I get it. But then you put on your fan shoes again and you're like, if you're a Padres fan listening to that, you're like, well, fuck, man. Like, we went all in. Like, we made trades. We dropped free agency bags, all to put together this super team that is already falling apart. Like, it has fallen apart. You know what I mean? Like, they still have a lot of talent there. But as far as the peak, we've already seen the peak of the all-in Padres. Like, that has come and gone already. And you're hearing from one of those players, you know, one of the best relievers that we've seen of this generation, telling you, like, yeah, like, I didn't put forth the same amount of effort into winning as I could have. And it's because of
Whoa. I gotta stop you right there. I'll even give you the opportunity to rephrase that, because
well, I mean,
he did not put forth the effort. No, that's not what happened.
No, if you're telling the team that you don't want to pitch multiple innings, then but you physically are able to, then that's how it is.
No, well, that's not how it is, though, and that's why you just don't like the word business. That right there, that 13-second clip is 24-year-old Jared, and everything leading up to that was the Jared that you feel you are now, or that you're seeing things through the lens of more frequently, because he didn't tell you that he doesn't want to put forth the effort. He didn't tell you that he doesn't want to win. He's telling you that he was told that doesn't matter to us. This is what matters to us. So now it's his responsibility, apparently, to explain to the free world, this is the contract and the business parameters that they placed on me and that they explained to me. So how would you then have me as an employee go about my job? Because you want me to work overtime and not receive pay? Is that what you would have me do? And then you would make it my fault for becoming inefficient when I've been working overtime, not receiving compensation? Because that becomes a situation where we are socializing the losses, meaning Hader blew out, didn't get us where we needed to be. That's okay. He's done. We didn't get what we needed. And then privatizing the wins. Hader did well, gave us 2 1/3. We don't have to pay him any more than we already agreed to. And now we're getting more than we actually paid for. And the only reason it works out that way is because we went into this room and told that dude that what he's doing doesn't matter, that he's got to do this. So then he responded by saying, well, I'll do that then. I'll just do that. And I know that since you're not going to be the ones who are going to compensate me, and you're not going to be the ones who are going to ensure my ability to work beyond this year of seemingly working overpaid or working overtime unpaid, well, I have to make my business decision. I have to be my own players union within myself, which says you have devalued the work that I put forth to get us, or to get me and my team to where we were. And now you're valuing this type of work, which is what I will give you. Every time that opportunity arises, I will absolutely be that dude. He's not putting forth the effort.
No.
He's doing exactly what he was told to do under the parameters that were placed on him. And then he's being asked and this is where it sucks, because you're having the business entity say, don't you want to be a team guy? And you're like, well, not for you. I want to do it for those dudes, but they're not the ones who are paying me. I bet if they were willing to pay me for what I'm doing, then I would do it. But you guys don't want to pay me for that. So I have to piss them off just so I can play the game that you guys are playing with me business-wise. That's a tough spot to be in as a player. But we all know, as we grow in this game, we learn the business side of this sooner or later, and it slaps guys across the face a lot harder than it slaps some other guys. I always go back to that moment in time in spring training. How many times have I told you guys this story? Where we're getting ready to go play the Boston Red Sox in Japan. And what did we have to do? Because certain guys weren't going to be compensated. Certain guys weren't going to get what they deserved. We decided to say, fuck you. We're not getting on that plane. We're not going to go and make your money for you unless we all make this money. And what happened? We got on the plane because guess what? We all made that fucking money because we stood our ground and said, fuck you. And Hader stood his ground and said, fuck you. And what did he do? He received the highest paid contract for a reliever in baseball history. So you tell me where Josh Hader went wrong.
I don't think he went wrong. I don't think he went wrong. I think sometimes you have to be your own biggest advocate. You can't depend on your agent to be that. I think you can't, like, you would like to think, like, maybe if there were a long-term commitment in place, you would like to think that your team has your best interests in mind. But when that's not there and you're looked at as a rental property, well, guess what? They no longer have your best interest in mind. They are trying to squeeze as much out of you as physically possible. And that's it. Like, look at Aroldis Chapman in 2016.
Thank you. That's what I was just going to say. You think Aroldis Chapman, you think that they gave a shit about what that dude was going to be doing for them next year or in the future? No.
Sabathia with the Brewers, which is why I have so much respect for CeCe. Like,
there you go. And that's a different animal, right? Because CeCe, like, money in the bank, he knew what he was doing. He knows what he's going for. Like he said, this is what I want to do. I want to be that dude. So I'll sign up and be that fucking guy. But CeCe's got that in his DNA. And it's not to say that Hader didn't. It's that fresh, I think the recency of it is what made it easier for Hader to say, this is how it's going to go. I just walked out of the room, them telling me that what I've been doing wasn't how I was going to get myself paid. And then they told me how I would get myself paid. So then I went out and did exactly that. It's that simple. It is that simple.
Joe, what do you got on the Hader comments?
I think the only place where it gets a little hairy is that if you're gonna, when you do that and it's like, but in the playoffs, obviously I'm gonna pitch as much as you want me to. I'll do whatever you need me for the fucking squad. But then it's like in a weird spot. What happened last year where it's like, well, we're trying to get in the playoffs. We have like 2 weeks left. Shouldn't you? Where do you draw the line? It's where you draw the line, because you could say, he's not getting paid extra for playoff saves. If anything.
Yeah, you do. You get a bonus.
You get your little bonus. But in arbitration,
depending on your contract and if you have incentives baked in there, then yeah, that's the whole point, Joe. Is you want me to work overtime to get to the overtime where I get paid? Well, where's the money attached to that? Because as far as I'm concerned, if it's game 159, that falls under the 162 game schedule that you told me pitching multiple innings doesn't mean shit. So no, I'm not available to go today for an inning and a third, and I'm not available to go tomorrow for 2/3 of an inning, because that's back-to-back days where you told me that kind of shit just doesn't matter. So why would I do that? Get me to the postseason where each and every win matters. Different story.
Well, that's where he drew the line, the postseason.
There you go. And that's where they'll all draw the line, Joe. That's why we see the game change the way it's played and approached in the postseason, because that's bonus baseball, my friend.
You say that's where everyone draws the line, but do you think there were some players with the Padres who were like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah, guys that were going to be there for the next 7 or 8 years are like, fuck, we want somebody to take the ball right now. We'd love for this to happen. Why would they love for that to happen? Because they're going to be there for the next 5+ years. And they want somebody who feels the same way about selling out and leaving it all on the field for this group. They want that guy down there. The unfortunate thing for them is that guy was just raked over the coals during the business side of this game and then put on their team. And when they needed a guy like that the most, who they had was a guy who had just been soured from the business side and said, I don't, these aren't my guys. These are my teammates, but I don't know that any one of these dudes is going to be taking care of me should I leave my arm out there on the mound for them during this 2-week stretch. And I know the Padres aren't going to take care of me if I leave my arm out on that mound during this 2-week stretch. Who is going to take care of me? I will take care of me. I will take care of me. And now I will land the biggest free agent reliever deal in the game's history because I took care of me.
Jay, if you're a Padres fan listening right now, how should you feel?
I would direct any of my frustration towards the front office in this particular situation, because it seems to me that this is the sort of thing that the Padres should have known upon acquiring Josh Hader, or that it could play out this way. And it seems like Josh Hader was pretty straightforward, at least with the people that he needed to be straightforward with at the time. And I also think it's none of what we've heard in that audio surprised me in its content. It might have surprised me in its honesty a little bit, but I think we've basically been saying versions of what Josh Hader said on this podcast in explanation of why Josh Hader was used the way that he was used. So that he reacted to the pay structure that exists within his sport, that's a pretty typical thing for human beings, I think. And I can't really get fired up at him about it. So if I'm going to be a Padres fan in theory and get mad at somebody, I think it has to be at AJ Preller. Although I'm not sure I'm mad about this situation overall in general.
Well, and I would also call into question whether or not, because let's remember, Bob Melvin, in my opinion, future Hall of Fame manager, left town, gone, out of there. Still some time on the clock as well. And in my experience, that kind of stuff doesn't really happen if the open lines of communication are flowing effortlessly and freely. I think at times there's probably a little bit of the telephone game going on, where messages that you would like to be sent don't get sent. Messages that do end up being delivered might have some verbiage in there that wasn't a part of the original message. Just a lot of muddy communication, or maybe at times lack of. And I think that can also play a role in whether or not you know who your players are. And so I think the onus, and Bob Melvin was very candid about it, said, I'm the manager. I'm the one who writes the lineup out, so you can put it on me. And I think as we have seen men of his status in this game, baseball minds like his, guys like Buck Showalter and the like, if you understand their roles in this game, you also understand that there's a certain amount of wear it that comes along with those roles. And I think that could probably also be a factor in what happened.
It would make a lot of sense. It would make a lot of sense because from all the, I guess, reading through the tea leaves and the back channel rumors, it would seem as though the Padres have a pretty dysfunctional front office operation going on. And from what I've learned about Bob Melvin from Dallas, having a close relationship with him, it doesn't make sense that he would be part of the problem. So it's almost like if you're the Padres, you're thinking like, all right, yeah, maybe we couldn't get all on the same page here, but I think the root of that problem is still there. Like they removed the part of the equation that wasn't necessarily the root of the problem. So it's like, all right, the management dynamic has changed, but has it changed for the better? I don't think that you can say the answer is yes to that question.
Yeah, it's like stubbing your big toe and then
cutting off your pinky.
I was going to say the other 4 toes have a Band-Aid on them.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's a nice place to end that. Which can go right into the pitcher Mount Rushmore. We've done all 30 teams, actually we've done more than that. We've done 30. Did we do 32? Because we did the Expos. Was there another?
Yeah, I think we
defunct?
argued about that, didn't we? About
I can still hear.
Nationals,
I can
Expos.
still hear. I'm
that.
using the urination station.
Yeah, go ahead. Go piss. I believe, we did the Expos on their own and we did the Nationals on their own. Yeah. So
I don't think we did any other franchise like that though.
Okay. So then we did 31 teams for Mount Rushmores. And I mean, people like the segment, so we were like, all right, let's keep it rolling. Let's do positions. It's like, all right, well, what order are we going to go in? Well, we're going to go in the defensive positioning order. pitcher number 1, catcher number 2, first base, second base, third base, shortstop, left field, center field, and then right field. I think where we might run into some issues is like when we get into the outfield and you're like, wait a second. Like this guy has center field and left field eligibility. Like what Mount Rushmore is he on?
I mean, we're going to have to come up with some sort of percentage playing time cutoff, I think.
Number of games played.
Yeah. What we're also going to have to check for, though, to make sure that, and I'm volunteer to do this, but we're going to have to make sure nobody falls through the cracks as being like 40% here, 30% there. And like, because there may be guys, like, I don't know, Paul Molitor or something like that. I'm not sure Paul Molitor is going to factor into any positional Mount Rushmore, but I'm sure there are better examples that I can't currently think of. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. You know what? I will, if you're willing to take on the project, I will let you create a key, an eligibility key.
Yeah, I'm on.
At least for the outfielders.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, all right, when we get to, like, not that Dallas is going to carve out any statues for this individual, but like what happens with A-Rod? Is he a shortstop or a third baseman?
Right.
But he might be the only guy where it's like, all right, all-time great, but like what position does he belong to?
I'm trying to think if
he might be on both lists. He's that legendary and awesome.
He could be.
Yeah, I guess
know.
I guess Miggy is probably solidly just a first base candidate.
Yeah.
Same with Pujols and Tomey and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting debate. Anyways, but it starts with an easy one. I mean, I don't know unless...
Dude, how can you say this is easy?
No. I'm saying it's easy. Like, it's not like a guy is going to have...
eligibility-wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like someone's going to have like first base eligibility and pitcher eligibility. So it was not easy in terms of coming to the final conclusion, the final four. I think I did a pretty good job. I know maybe one of my guys will be disputed, but like, fuck you. So,
I feel pretty strongly about a guy that's probably going to get a fuck you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Before we start, like you guys offline, before we started recording the podcast, you guys, or Jared maybe mentioned the process, which was you started with a list of X guys that you thought were like in the ballpark of the conversation and then whittled it down from there, correct?
That's what I basically did the Hall of Fame litmus test. Like when you think of like a Hall of Famer, it's like, oh, you say this guy's name, is he a Hall of Famer? Yes or no? So I just thought like, who are the greatest pitchers who ever lived? Made a list of about 10 guys.
Okay, so that was my question, is how deep was the list that you started working off of before you, because I'm looking at my list right now and I was just curious what sort of net you cast.
Yeah, it was roughly 10 guys, maybe 12. And started whittling them down, maybe added a guy after looking at numbers like, oh, like this guy belongs to the conversation. We should give more consideration to this guy. And then ultimately just kind of chiseled away until you ended up with 4. It's like, all right, well, can you make a stronger case for this person over this person? Like, does this person actually belong over this person? Like it was very much it was like a game show. It was like,
and so I didn't necessarily compare player to player. I mean, you do compare player to player, obviously, because you're looking at statistical rankings. From there though, I did start to think about like the art and what your ultimate goal is when it comes to pitching. And so there's personal accolades that you factor in. There's team accolades that you factor in. And then I think outside of accolades, there's statistics that kind of bear out a person's place in history as well. So it wasn't so much for me like player to player. It was about acknowledging the greatness of the art form that is achieved in multiple ways.
maybe this is too much preamble before we get to the actual thing, but like, I know we've attempted to honor eras, and I started off like my list was 12 deep, like my working list.
Mhm.
So I think we're kind of all on the same page. And like my goal at first was to honor eras, like to be like, this guy was the best in, the live ball era. This guy was the best, blah, blah, whatever. I had a really difficult time sticking to that mantra.
Me too. Me
Because-
too.
Well, hey, like, can we throw some names out?
Well,
I'm going to throw a name out.
Let me say this too. Yeah. And then we'll throw names. Like, I think it's hard not to get caught up in the moment, or it's hard not to be nostalgic about the era that you grew up watching, right? However,
Oh, yes.
in this case, not only do legacy and awards and all that sort of stuff suggest this, but so do the raw and advanced statistics that in our lifetimes,
Mhm.
when we were younger, primarily is the guys that I'm talking about, we witnessed arguably 4 of like the 8 or 9 greatest pitchers of all time. And
Ever.
that's very like liberal in terms of the 8 or 9. It may be that we witnessed 3 of the top 5 or 4 of the top 6. And so like, we can start naming people or whatever, but I didn't want to seem like I'm a prisoner of the 90s and 2000s when I made this list. But I also think that like, when you get right down to it, you can make
It's
a
pretty
case
simple.
that the whole fucking list could be those guys.
You are
Yes.
making me feel so much better about my list.
No,
Oh, good.
Hey, I did that. That's why I said, that's why I talked about throwing out some names, like when you're starting to go through it, because there's names that you think that jump off at you. Like, can I have a conversation about the greatest pitchers that have ever played the game and not mention the name Bob Feller? I don't know that I can do that, but can I have a conversation about a Mount Rushmore without the name Bob Feller? I think I can. Warren Spahn, I think I can have that same conversation.
Satchel Paige.
Right? Satchel Paige, Bob Gibson.
Like
Like, these are
Satchel
names-
Paige was on my list. Like I had
there's
a hard
another
time.
left-hander. There's another left-hander out there that folks might be married to, and other folks might leave off because they say, well, he was here and then he wasn't. Like there's just so many different ways to view this. But I agree, Jay, that initially, and I've got one guy. I got one guy as far as representing any sort of air. I got one dude, and I bit the bullet on him, and I'm fine with that. But then after that, to your point, I was like, I mean, I've fucking I played against this guy. Like is this real? Like, is it like, am I about to do this? And then it's like, yeah, man.
Well,
Yeah.
and you look at the 10 or 12 people that are under serious consideration here, and like, in some sense they fit into buckets, right? Like you have guys who are a little dicey in terms of the quantity of innings pitched that stack up, but their per inning contribution is like as good as it gets. And like 2 names that pop into my mind are Pedro and Clayton Kershaw in that regard, and Sandy Koufax. Like I have all 3 of those guys in that bucket. And then you have like the old but like awesome group where it's like, well, am I really going to Walter Johnson, Lefty Grove? Like, I think you have to at least say those names in this sort of conversation, even if people are inclined. Like a lot of Walter's career came in pre-live ball era. So if that's like a cutoff for you mentally in these sorts of conversations, then maybe he's not getting that sort of credit. But like every statistical suggestion has to have those 2. And then you have guys who fall somewhere in between. You guys mentioned a lot of them, but like we could name more, but there are more names that I think need to be considered. Some of them current, some of them not. But like you ultimately, to me, to go back to the 90s, 2000s thing, you land on a couple of guys, 3, maybe 3 guys who have an absolutely unimpeccable, mix of the innings, the domination, and all the hardware. Like, and they all happen to be pitching at the same time. And it's tough to be like, well, I want to pick 3 of those guys, but like
they're slapping you across the face.
Greg
You have to
Maddux,
pick
Roger
us.
Clemens, and Randy Johnson have the same.
They gotta pick us, Jay.
I'm not saying those guys are. I'm not
Who is
committing
the
to those
first one?
guys. Randy Johnson, Greg Maddux, and Roger Clemens.
Roger
Those 3
Clemens.
guys are all like they have the quantity that match up with like the Steve Carltons and the Tom Seavers and all of that. In fact, they have a lot more of it than people like Bob Gibson.
I have. I'll just say it. I have all three of them.
I do too. If we're gonna go there.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
I'm gonna back you up on that one.
Clemens is my one. Actually, this is in no particular order. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I can't do orders.
I have Clemens, Maddox, and Johnson here, so that leaves one spot left.
I do too.
Dallas,
I do too, and I have.
You have those three guys.
Yes, and
It's such a hard decision. Everyone has the same fucking list, dude.
Who do you have? Do you have those three guys, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
You do have all three of those guys, Joe.
So
Yeah.
So then, okay. Well,
So we all just you know what? I wish we had like fucking dry erase boards. Like we could all like reveal our last guy at the same time.
I know. I have. Well, so I am. I don't know that I'm fucking sold on him right now as I talk to you.
Oh,
like
Dallas.
There's
we
a
Dallas. We have the same guy.
You think so?
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
I don't think we do.
I think we do.
I don't think we do.
I think we do.
I don't know. Who's? I want to go last.
All right, you can go last. Joe, who is your missing man?
I actually wanted to go last, but
I'm the fucking big league pitcher here. I'm gonna go last.
well, why? That's why you don't should go first. You think
Yeah,
set the
that's true.
example, man.
You're representing your brethren.
So I'll give
Jay,
Dallas.
what do you got?
I'll give Dallas a second to collect himself before he, as the veteran clubhouse presence, goes first.
Yeah.
To me, this is basically a consideration of, am I taking a modern pitcher who doesn't have maybe the bulk that I would traditionally like in this sort of conversation, or am I taking an old ass bitch? I think is where this comes down to.
I don't even think it has to be an old ass bitch. Like I think
so
like they pitch with color TV, yeah.
So I'm really interested to see who you're going to pick here, because
Dallas knows.
I don't think we have the same person then. So
Yeah, and Jared thinks he knows who I have, but I don't.
I'm convinced that I don't have the same person as Dallas, but I'm surprised that. Put it this way, I'm surprised I don't have the same person as Dallas.
So he's old, but he's not an old ass bitch, is what you're telling me.
He's pretty old, but he's like not like fucking Bob Feller old.
No, but he maybe looks shockingly good for his age.
Yeah, like he can still
picking
throw
Sandy?
90.
Are you picking Sandy?
No, Nolan Ryan.
No, he just said he could still throw. Oh, fuck you, Jay! Hey, shut your fucking mouth, mute his fucking mic, and let me drop some fucking knowledge on your bitch ass.
Yes.
Are you ready?
You were so
Are you ready
close.
to hear why Nolan fucking Ryan? Why the Express? God damn it! I'll do it right now. I'll fucking do it right fucking now.
Guy's gonna go to the hospital.
I'll risk unplugging this bitch right now. You see that fucking thing right there? Look at that sexy bitch. You see who that is?
No.
That is a life-size
really.
cardboard cutout
No one can
of
see
the
it.
Ryan Express. Right there. What are those? Those are just every fucking ticket autograph from each and every one of his. Not one.
If you're listening
Not
on
two,
podcast, don't even
not
bother.
three,
You can't see it.
Not 4, not 5, not 6, but each and every one of his 7, Jay Hay, 7 fucking no-hitters. And we're just getting started. I'm glad you asked, because his 5,700.
I'm going to let you cook, Dallas, but like, are you doing this because you have Nolan Ryan, or you're just defending
Yes,
Nolan
I'm
Ryan?
doing this because I have Nolan Ryan.
Oh, so then what the fuck?
Yes.
Are you fucking
All right.
serious, dude?
All right, all right.
Why would you?
I thought you were. I
Why
thought
would
you were
you-
going to have me going with lefty, and that's why.
No.
Okay, all right.
I know
okay,
that
okay.
you fucking love Nolan. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
all
Go
right,
ahead.
all right.
Go ahead.
5,714 strikeouts, Jay Hay. That's good for the best all time. Almost 1,000 more than the next closest guy, who's Randy Johnson. Let me put it like this. The guy who's sitting at spot number 150 on the punch-out list is closer to the guy at number 5 than the number 2 is closest to him. That's how fucking dominant that is. The 5th highest Hall of Fame percentage voting in at 98.79. On top of those 7 no-hitters, Jay Hay, he also had 12 one-hitters. 12 one-hitters. That was tied with Bob Feller during that span. On top of that, Jay, on top of the 12 one-hitters, he had 18 two-hitters. 18 two-hitters. Tied for Walter Johnson. Motherfucking chew the big train during that span. Okay? His 6.56 hits per 9. I told you I was talking about the artistry. And pitching, as far as I remember, is about not letting them hit the ball or as least as possible. So if you can strike them out,
not letting them score runs, but we'll get to that whenever you're done talking. Yeah.
Well, you gotta hit the ball to score runs.
Sure. Yeah. Or you could walk the most people in Major League Baseball history, but we'll get to that. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Well, that didn't have anything to do with his Hall of Fame career, did it?
No. I mean, it did because the runs scored.
It didn't hold him back.
Keep going. Keep cooking. Whatever you're doing, microwaving.
On top of limiting the most amount of hits over 9 innings, he led the league 12 times doing that, Jay. 12 times. He led the league in punch-outs 11 times. 15 200 punch-out seasons. He and Randy Johnson, 6 300 strikeout seasons. Nobody else had more than 3. He had 6 top 5 Cy Young finishes. Did not have a Cy Young. I understand that. He's got the championship ring to go along with it. This dude
guy played for 1,000 years and won 1 World Series. What a winner.
What he did, Jay Hay, was something that other people can't even wrap their fucking head around. He led the league in strikeouts, hits per 9, and K per 9 over 3 different fucking decades. Over 3 decades he did that.
He was a wonderful carnival act.
He was the fucking man, Jay Hay. The man.
Yeah,
that is why the Ryan Express is firmly chiseled on the Mount Rushmore of the greatest to ever toe the slab.
That's impressive that you managed to find a guy that didn't even make my working list. So cheers on that one.
Your list,
you picked a guy without a Cy Young. Dude.
Yeah, I mean, listen. The classic case of a guy whose myth, whose legend,
who understands. You don't want to let him hit the ball. He did that. You don't want to let him touch the ball. He did that. That's what pitching is about.
That's certainly one way to describe what pitching is about. Listen, we're also talking about the guy who, I said it, but I'll say it again, literally issued more walks than any pitcher in baseball history. So the idea that he was limiting hits is great. The job is actually to limit base runners, as Dallas well knows. And in his passionate plea for Nolan Ryan, he's overlooking the fact that he put a lot of people on base, not via the hit. So that obviously needs to be taken into account. His ERA plus, adjusted ERA, counted for era, it's the same as Lance Lynn's. Okay? We're talking about the Mount fucking Rushmore of all pitchers ever. And you guys are talking about, and we're sitting here saying, oh, the purpose of the game is to limit runs.
You're cherry picking a statistic.
He limited
that
runs.
That fits your narrative of recency.
Well,
okay.
Well, his regular ERA
because by that
isn't
definition,
noteworthy
we
either.
could close the book. We could close the book on pitchers who never even sniffed the 1900s if we're just doing that.
Well, I mean, listen, cherry picking a stat that speaks to how many runs did you allowed is, I guess, in the strictest definition, cherry picking a stat, but runs allowed is the whole purpose, as we all know. So same adjusted ERA as Lance Lynn, most walks in baseball history, never once won a Cy Young, as you hinted at, and you described it as like a couple of top 5s. He finished runner-up once in addition to never winning. So he was really never in the serious conversation for Cy Youngs by his contemporary evaluations. Yeah, dude. How many?
So if he were living today and they were doing it on MLB Network and Nolan Ryan's face is on the TV screen, he's not in that serious conversation?
Once every 5 seasons of his career, he finished in the top 5.
You just tried to act like him being in the top 5 is not being in a serious conversation. And so I would wonder,
it's not a serious conversation for
TV,
the Mount Rushmore of all pitchers ever.
If
you're barely in your own Cy Young conversation, you're probably not in this conversation.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Is he wasn't barely in him; he was in the top 5 in him.
No, like what, 5 or 6 times in a 27-year career?
Well, I would call a top 10 finish barely.
That
in
sounds
the
more
conversation.
like that sounds like more like charity votes for a guy that fucking hung on forever. They're like, Jesus Christ, Nolan Ryan's still pitching. Let's throw him a Cy Young vote here or there, like we saw with, God knows who in this past But anyway, yeah, Nolan Ryan has no business being in this conversation. Very electric pitcher, very fun, lots of no-hitters. But I don't see how he factors in here with an ERA that's like fractionally above league average. All due respect to you, the two of you who were doing fantastic through the first 75% of this Mount Rushmore. I know Joey's gonna bring it home with that fourth one, but Nolan Ryan, Nolan Ryan's gonna be loved on Reddit. I'll say that. He got a lot of support on the Baseball is Dead Reddit page when they started tossing this around.
I might go Babe Ruth.
Nope. Joe, who's your fourth?
I had a lot of guys to pick, but I just think I'm just gonna go Bob Gibson.
Bob Gibson,
big old Bobby, big old Bobby boy. He was one of the best pitchers of all time, and you know what? You can pick a lot of guys. There's no wrong answers, guys. I think Nolan Ryan, obviously not my pick, but I respect the pick. So you got to respect my pick. And I think why I pick him, it's like X Games' best trick. All of them have great stats, but like who had the best season ever pitching? I think Bob Gibson, 1968. He had a fucking, let me look it up. I should have already had it up. 1968. He had a 1.12 ERA. That's the lowest ERA of all time in a season. And
Ever.
Pitched 300 innings while doing that.
He must have gotten bored that year.
He was, dude. They fucking moved them. They lowered the mound because
They
of
lowered the mound.
the next year,
68.
And then guess what? He also had a sick ass year the next year. Had a 2.1 ERA. Had 28 complete games both times. He had
Imagine having a 2-1 and your ERA had gone up a full run.
he in his last 25 starts that season, he had 23 complete games in 25 starts, 13 shutouts.
Think of that.
So if they move the mound because of you, you might be one of the top 4 best pitchers of all time. I'd argue.
I like it, Joe. I'm with it.
As I see your logic. It's sound logic. Justin Havens. You, I presume, do not have Bob Gibson. We certainly know you don't have Nolan Ryan.
Nope. Bob was on the working list. Nolan on the cutting room floor, I guess.
I will say this. It was difficult to remove Pedro's name from my working list. Ultimately, I think I have the correct list. But I'm leaving the door open for you, maybe, if you don't have Nolan Ryan.
So Pedro was one of the very last people who was on my working list for that fourth spot, and
he was my fifth. Yeah, basically.
My problem with putting Pedro on over specifically one other person was that I don't know how I can look at Pedro's career and Clayton Kershaw's career and come to the conclusion that Pedro was definitively produced a definitively better career value-wise. Like, to me, you look at their numbers, you look at their ERA, you look at their hardware, you look at their innings pitched, you look at even the mixed bag in the postseason translates to both guys in a lot of ways. And like,
Nolan Ryan's got better numbers than Pedro in the postseason.
And I don't like, on a rate basis, on a per inning basis, these are probably, you can make a sound case that they are the 2 best pitchers in baseball history. But we're also talking about guys who have like 1,500 to 2,000 to 3,000 fewer innings pitched than some of the other guys that are serious candidates for this. And if I can't differentiate between the two of them, and I really can't, like, I have a personal preference, and I think it's Pedro because of nostalgia, and I liked watching him pitch more. But like, that is not a good enough reason to select Pedro over Kershaw. I think when their statistical cases are, in my opinion, nearly identical. Is that like do you guys disagree with that? In terms of Kershaw, and like, where was Kershaw on your list eliminated? Because to me, like, he's the it's either him or Verlander is the representation from this current era. And like, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so I was lock and step with you there. Kershaw, it was Kershaw, Verlander, and Pedro. I honestly, when I started to go through, like, you know how you can go on baseball reference and go to StatHead, and you can line, you do the versus finder and you line all these guys up. And that was where it got really tough, was like, if it's not if it's not Verlander, how can it be Kershaw or Pedro? And then you start to dive in and you're like, well,
like
Pedro in the postseason, and
like,
okay, Verlander in the postseason, the lack of postseason from Kershaw, but then the totality of the numbers, like looking at Kershaw and Pedro, like you said, what is there, 100+ innings or so that separates the two of them?
There's currently 115
total?
innings pitched between the two of them, and the guy with fewer innings pitched has the better ERA and the better adjusted ERA. Fractionally, they're both like the two best ever, them and whatever. But like, so you can't even like splice it like that. And to your point about like to Verlander, I remember vividly that we've had conversations on both this pod and the previous pod about who is the pitcher of this generation between Kershaw, Verlander, and I think Scherzer's name was even thrown in there at some points. And it's like, if we can't even decide Verlander or Kershaw versus each other, and I can't decide Kershaw, Pedro in kind of like the lower quantity bucket of pitchers, like how am I splicing between any of these guys? I ran into similar problems trying to like look at the 60s and 70s and like Bob Gibson versus Sandy Koufax versus Carlton versus Tom Seaver. And it's like, well, depending on what you look at, it favors this guy and this guy. And it's like, well, I'm just kind of, so long story short, I wanted to make it an all 90s 00 thing, but I just couldn't do that integrity wise. So I threw my hands up and I just went with Walter Johnson.
And Jay, he was a guy that was probably going to, I mean, he was just I dove into him and I did rattle off a bunch of shit. Like, think about this. Couldn't win a Cy Young. Why? Well, because he was quite literally pitching against the motherfucker. Like he faced him.
Pre-award. Yeah.
Cy Young. Yeah. On June 4th.
It probably should be named after him if we're being honest.
Yeah. On June 4th, 1910, Walter Johnson actually threw a complete game against Cy Young and his team won. He led the league in punch outs 12 times, 8 years in a row. At one point, his 110 shutouts are the most all time, 9 straight years of 300+ innings pitched, the 3-time Triple Crown winner. I mean, pure domination, pure domination. But you know what? Actually, fuck. Oh man, this is so, I think I even sent myself this quote because I was just reading shit and was like, oh my. No. Oh, it was a quote, I think, from Ty Cobb, who talked about when they saw Walter Johnson for the first time, he realized that they had just had the greatest arm that baseball had ever seen unleashed upon them. That's from the mouth of the greatest hitter
of a guy who's going to be on the conversation for the outfield Rushmore, right?
Like that dude was like, when Walter Johnson showed up, it was time to take it to the house. So that's fucking incredible. Also, little known fact, our friend Tim Kirkjian attended the same high school as Walter Johnson.
And he will let you know. Like, listen, I was being flip about the Nolan Ryan stuff to some degree, but to me, Walter Johnson features basically all of the good of Nolan Ryan without any of the drawbacks. Like, you know, the strikeout stuff is obviously what draws to Nolan. Walter Johnson led the league in strikeouts more times than Nolan Ryan led the league in strikeouts by 1, but it's 12 versus 11. So we're talking about the same type of like swing and miss. I mean, it's all relative, right? Of course, because he was playing in.
But give me the number though, Jay. 3,500 strikeouts for Walter Johnson.
For sure, 3,500 strikeouts, but like he was recording 300 strikeout seasons in an era where like that just wasn't happening very often. And like it was coupled, you're getting a guy who led the league in strikeouts 12 different times, and also a guy who led the league in ERA 5 different times, adjusted ERA, I believe 6 different times, and won 2 MVPs, pre BBWAA era, when it worked a little bit differently, but that speaks to the fact that he was viewed a certain way in his, like, by contemporaries and in his era. If the Cobb quote that Dallas provided didn't send that home enough, he led the league in inning. Like, you go to his reference page and it's just all black ink, and it's about as much black ink as any pitcher has by references standards of what the black ink is. So like, I'm not totally satisfied having to reach that far back into history, but like, I also think his greatness kind of towers above the generations that led up to the 90s, and I can't split the difference between Kershaw and Pedro and Verlander and those guys right now. So being unable to do that, I have to go with Walter Johnson. So the 390s guys, Unit, Maddox, Clemens, and then Walter Johnson.
2 MVP campaigns a decade apart from each other for Walter Johnson. Like that's pretty cool. 1912 MVP, or excuse me, 1913 MVP, and then 1924 he won the MVP again. And to your point about the punch outs and stuff, like sure, those 8 years of 300 plus innings a piece, and he's punching out 303 or 313, 303, 243, and then we get to a point where he's 326 innings and he punched out 188.
Also, the final thing I'd like to note in selling the Walter Johnson case is that his career straddles the live ball era and the dead ball era. And while he was, 1920 is technically the first season of the live ball era, and he was 32 at that point. So you can say he was post-peak or entering post-peak. What he did show is that even in his advanced age and post-peak era, he was able to adjust to the new ball and the new style of pitching, because he went on to then lead the league 3 more times in strikeouts, won an ERA title in his age 36 season, led the league in wins, if you like that, games started and shutouts in that season that he won the ERA title. And as Dallas said, that was the second MVP season, the one 10 years after his first one. So it's not ideal to have a guy who pitched primarily during the dead ball era or had his legend built up during that era. But to me, this was a talent that obviously, and contemporary accounts back this up, that he would have succeeded in any era that he pitched in.
And I think he might be one of the most prime candidates if we were to look to try to identify a player who burst onto the scene at just the right time, really in both eras that he played in. And when we have the conversation about what it would look like to take a guy from this era with this talent and plant him way back when in this era and have him so when I say take a guy like Barry Bonds and put him in the 20s, I mean, we're taking 2004 Barry Bonds and we're putting him in the 20s. His speed, his conditioning, his physique, everything about him, and we're putting it there. And we're watching what that athlete does to the game at that time. It would look silly. Well, that's what Walter Johnson was in real time. This dude burst onto the scene and just started blowing people away to the point where Ty Cobb was like, I don't know how much longer this is going to last for us here. Like when this guy shows up, the game is changing, folks. The game is fucking changing. Like Ty Cobb would have been the old guy who's on TV now or on Twitter now posting a video of of Jordan Hicks throwing 105 going, yep, got out of the game at the right time.
We did it.
Something interesting happened while we were doing that segment, and I think it'd be interesting to do it anyway. So Kirk Minahan called me while we were doing that segment, and I didn't pick up, obviously, because I thought it was a private call. And it turns out he was using me as a phone a friend for the dozen. So I was not aware of that. Usually like the phone of friends on the dozen, they'll like text them ahead of time, be like, hey, we're recording at this time. Like, be on the lookout. We might use you for a phone a friend. At least that's how it's worked in the past. Like if I've been a phone a friend for like Big Cat. So I didn't pick up, and I didn't even know that they were doing the dozen today. I want to know if you guys know the answer to this question. The question was, this shortstop / third baseman from 1999 through 2004 played with the Diamondbacks, Orioles, and Expos, had multiple 20-plus home run seasons.
Diamondbacks, Orioles, Expos.
99 to 04 had multiple 20-plus home run seasons.
Not Alex Gonzalez.
Did he play with those teams during those years?
Yeah. It's going to be a bad look for us if we as a podcast collectively cannot get this.
Can you repeat the teams? Sorry.
Diamondbacks, Expos,
and
Orioles. Who? And Orioles?
Yeah.
They could just call you and then you can answer. Like, what? You can't just go on Google and search this shit.
No.
I mean, I guess you can, but usually you're very caught off guard.
Didn't play for the fucking Diamondbacks.
Nope.
How long do they get on that show?
35 seconds, maybe? Yeah, like I thought maybe like Orlando Cabrera had played. I mean, he played on a bunch
Gonzalez
of teams.
was one of the names that I said. That's not.
Orlando Cabrera played for the Expos, the Angels, the Twins, the Giants, the A's, the Red Sox, the Reds, the Guardians, and the White Sox. It's not Orlando Cabrera.
JJ Hardy.
Diamondbacks, Expos, and Orioles.
Yep.
Shortstop, third baseman.
Yep.
That's what's throwing me off. Is
I want to get this. We should just sit on this until we get it.
Yeah. 1999 Orioles. It's not Mike Bordick. I mean, Ripken was playing third base in the 90s and through 04, or not through 04, but Melvin Mora. 2004 Orioles.
I got nothing right now. Johnny Peralta?
Was it Melvin Mora? No, he wouldn't have played for the Expos. Because Melvin Mora played for the Orioles and the D-backs. Fuck, Melvin Mora was a good guess.
Melvin Mora was a good guess.
Yeah. He didn't have the Expos, though. I don't know.
Oh, for shorts. No, I do. Yeah, the Cabrera call is good because of the X.
You do?
Yeah.
Did he only play in that range of seasons? 99 to 04?
Nope.
I was gonna say. From when did he retire?
Last season was 07.
Ooh.
Omar Vizquel.
No.
His
Two-time
last-
All-Star. Finished 7th in the 1996 AL Rookie of the Year voting for
Jose
Dallas's
Vidro.
Oakland A's.
Oh.
Spent
God
his
bless
first
you.
2 seasons of his career with the Oakland A's, 1996 and 1997. Partial seasons, both. Made his way over to Arizona in 98.
Hold on. Third baseman?
Shortstop, third baseman, I believe, was the question. Split
I already
time.
threw Miggy's
Split
name.
time.
Not Miggy.
Think he might have dabbled in some second when he was in Oakland. Played for the Orioles, played for the Blue Jays, played for the D-backs, played for the Nationals, played for both the Nationals and the Expos, played for, as I said, the A's and also the Twins.
Wow.
Hit 41 home runs one season. He had a season where he had 41 homers, drove in 114, made the All-Star team in 2000 with the Blue Jays.
I found it.
What?
He bopped 32 with 110 driven in, somehow with a 728 OPS for the 2004 Montreal Expos.
hold on. This is a guy. He's a what? Hold on.
You want me to get? Should we just tell him, Joey?
No.
I'll give you a hint. Same
No,
name as a Brazilian
I don't
football
want-
player.
I don't want any.
That's a good get. That's a good hint. He's 50 years old.
Ronaldo Lopez.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm. What was that
You
last
said,
name, Jay?
What'd you say about a rookie? He did what?
He finished
year?
a robust 7th in the 1996 AL Rookie of the Year vote. That was the year Jeter won.
His best seasons were with the Hawks.
Oh, what the fuck?
All right. We're going to tap out on this one.
Yeah, who you got?
It's Tony Batista.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
That's
don't
wouldn't have
remember
that.
It's a
him
good
with the
question. It's a
A's
tough question.
at all. Yeah. I don't remember his A's days.
If you're looking for Tony Bautista clips, search Tony Bautista scares the hell out of Asian pitcher. Great clip.
Yeah, he charges them
Oh,
out and he runs
what
away. Wow, that was bad. That was bad. How long have we been doing this podcast for? Oh, like almost fucking
We can-
3 hours.
We can defer 1931 to next week if you want.
What's the runtime, Jake?
It's like 2:30 right now.
Yeah.
I think it's best.
I was like, why does my stomach feel like it's eating itself? Oh,
Because it is.
oh, yeah, because we started the podcast like fucking 3 hours ago. All right, yeah. Why don't we do that? We gave people what they wanted for this episode. 2.5 hours with virtually no new news. I mean, the news that we did discuss like hadn't been discussed on the pod yet, but
We're creating the news with the
Yeah.
starting pitching Rushmore.
yeah. So next week, the catcher Mount Rushmore, the catcher Mount Rushmore, and story time with Joe and the 1931 MVP. In hindsight, you'll get those right off the top. We're gonna fucking lead with those unless something crazy happens. But the end of the Super Bowl means the start of baseball season. Means guys are gonna start reporting. Arizona, Florida, guys are gonna be slapping asses out there on the backfields. Dallas, you know what I'm talking about, right?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right, baby. Lathered up in SPF.
Yeah. All right. So we will be back on Monday with the Catcher Mount Rushmore 1931 story time with Joe, news and notes. Spring training is basically here. Baseball's back. Can't say it's officially back on February 12th, but by the time we meet again, baseball will basically be back. So get excited. We are not that far away from Baseball is Dead, going back to 3 episodes a week. I'm excited. You're excited. Everyone's excited. Any final thoughts? Jake's takes?
If the dozen had a 10-minute limit on questions, I think we might have got that one.
Yeah. 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 Joe, any final thoughts?
Nope. Just thank you for listening.
Wow. Thank you guys for listening. Jay, hey, final thoughts.
Jurickson and Profar back to the Padres on a 1-year deal. This is the breakout season.
Big time. It's coming. Top prospect in baseball. Look out for him. He'll be out there with the Padres. You know him. You love him. Dallas, any final thoughts?
Shout out Ursher, John, and Luda. Had to do it again.
Yeah.
What a fucking banging ass halftime show for all the old heads. It was great. It was fucking great. Loved it. Loved every minute of it. We already discussed the greatness that is Patrick Mahomes, the Red Raider legend. Yeah, that's all I got.
Wow, beautiful. Didn't think we were going to get an Usher shout out on today's podcast, but here we are. Shout out to Usher. We'll see you next week.
Wow.